we are onto something that is going to be amazing. But what we need is your help.
The number one problem is there's too much power in too few hands.
Every single problem that we have can be traced back to dark money.
They take large donors, they serve large donors.
So these handful of gatekeepers try to dictate everything.
Like all of you already know, they don't work for you, they work for their donors. So fire them and hire people who will only work for you that say no corporate PAC money.
We are going to change the way we elect candidates in this country.
Uncorrupted Democrats, we're gonna fight for the issues and win on policy.
This is incredibly personal. We need free healthcare for everyone.
We're fighting for $15 minimum wage, single-payer healthcare, debt-free college, and we are gonna get money out of politics once and for all.
I've taken a public pledge not to accept any corporate money.
Because the last thing we're gonna do is go into another presidential election and run a corporatist against a populist candidate.
At some point, the buck needs to stop, and it's gonna stop with us. It's gonna stop with Justice Democrats.
So who are we?
People who do not take corporate PAC money.
We're relying on small donors.
99.9% of our contributions came from people.
You're a Just Democrat, so you don't take any corporate PAC money.
I'm not influenced by money.
As a Justice Democrat, I made that pledge.
Not a penny.
Absolutely no.
I will go to Congress unbossed and unbought.
We try to create a government which works for all of us.
That is what America's about, and that's what a representative democracy should be about.
We are just getting warmed up here.
Vote for uncorrupted Democrats. The fight starts now, it starts today, and it starts with you.
I've been honest with him. Like, yeah, I was upset with you and I shouldn't have done it. But instead I was like, I'm just trying to protect my engagement ring.
Guys, not a big deal, but you're about to save the planet. So here's how it works. We're planting 10 trees for everyone who signs up at aspiration.com/TYT. Aspiration and TYT are doing this together. Do you have any idea what 10 trees do? Hold on, let me explain. First of all, one tree can provide a day's supply of oxygen for up to 4 people. I plant 10 trees, or you plant 10 trees by going to aspiration.com/TYT. That's 40 people. You're giving oxygen to 40 people. What are you gonna argue with that? You can't argue with that, but if you do, during 1 year, a mature tree will absorb more than 48 pounds of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and release oxygen in exchange. We capture the carbon dioxide, release the oxygen. Aspiration.com/TYT. You save money and you save the planet. What else do you want to do? Come on, aspiration.com/TYT. All right, not only that, you can plant a tree with every purchase once you're in Aspiration and you have an account. There's no way this is going to get better. Oh my God, no deposits used for oil drills or pipelines. Oh my God, up to 10% cash back for socially conscious shopping. Hello. With Aspiration Spend and Save, you get the world's first cashback account that lets you track the impact of your spending, all managed through one intuitive app. Would a hero sign up for Aspiration through aspiration.com/TYT? I guess.
So this is what democracy looks like.
We have to be aggressive, we have to be powerful, we have to go hard, and we have to go for what is ours because they are not going to give it to us.
The system is flawed. I mean, the primary system is archaic, stupid, made up.
If you think that accomplishing a leftist movement here is going to be easy, you're wrong. We have to fight.
It has begun.
The powerful do not give up their power easily.
No.
2020 is everything.
Hello and welcome to Staying Home with Josh Fox, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal and why we're not going back. Today, we continue our celebration of the 10-year anniversary of this film right here, Gasland, my movie on fracking. Because we are celebrating that 10-year anniversary, we're having guests related to fracking, related to the rights of nature, related to the campaigns in Pennsylvania, which are so crucial. Today, I am wearing because it's Friday, my special No Fracking, Only You Can Prevent Faucet Fires, Smokey the Bear t-shirt, which I quite love. So yes, remember, no fracking, only you can prevent faucet fires. And we have, today on our program, we have Mr. Don Vappy with our Song of the Week. We have Christoph Dornemann, James Beard Award-winning bar, French 75, the mixologist there down in the Crescent City of New Orleans. He's going to do our cocktail of the week. And we have Dr. Professor Tony Ingraffia from Cornell University. I think of him as the godfather of cement, one of the first people who originally created fracking way, way back, who helped figure out rock fracture mechanics, and then came out as one of its most prominent critics, and clearly the person who has provided so much science on climate change, from fracking to poisoning of water supplies. And we're going to talk a bit about all the things that have happened this week with frackers being called, finally, criminals. Criminality being charged against the fracking industry here in Pennsylvania. What amazing news. So for tonight, we're going to do that. And, you know, there's so much to be said about why we must continue to campaign against fracking. We can't just sit back and say, oh, well, there's 700 frack gas power plants proposed for the United States. Well, how did that happen? Well, it happened actually under the Obama administration. It didn't happen under the Trump administration. Obama and Biden were the frackers in chief for 8 years. And even though Joe Biden, at his debate with Bernie Sanders, said no new fracking, because it seemed like he wanted to be in the cool club for a second, he and his platform still support fracking. Now, some of his vice presidential hopefuls, candidates, don't support fracking. Elizabeth Warren does not. Kamala Harris said she wants to ban fracking. These are good things. But it is so important that we educate ourselves about what fracking does, what it is, and how toxic and dangerous it is. And that's what this movie does. So if you haven't seen it, go to joshfoxfilm.com and watch it there. There's also Gasland Part 2, which is on HBO. And the third part of the trilogy is the film How to Let Go of the World and Love All the Things Climate Can't Change. Why is this so crucial? Because fracking was a fringe idea. It was one of the suite of extreme extractive energy, not just regular extractive energy, but extreme energy. Extreme energy meaning instead of slow, you're skiing down the hill that way, you're skiing straight down. And this is incredibly dangerous, right? Extreme energy being tar sands extraction, which we have talked about on this program with Crazy Boy Gitz. Mountaintop removal for coal, where they literally blow the entire top of the mountain off. And this has been devastating in Appalachia to get at a thin seam of coal. Fracking, of course, which we are talking about every day this week. And those and deep water drilling, which we saw in the Deepwater Horizon. The extreme deep water drilling is very, very unstable. And we saw that contaminate the Gulf. Also 10 years ago. And we'll talk about that in a subsequent episode. But why do we have to oppose fracking is because it is now being posited as the leading source of American electricity generation. And that absolutely has to be stopped. So let's hope that one of those anti-fracking vice presidential candidates, Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren, becomes a choice, and that we get to lean on that Joe Biden candidacy and hopefully that Joe Biden presidency. I will say this as a closer, as a hopeful note. When we campaigned at Joe Biden to stop fracking in the Delaware River Basin, he responded. He responded and he said, I'm with you, and we're going to stop fracking in the Delaware River Basin. When we put pressure on him, he responded. That is my hope. You have to think about this election as who you would rather protest against. Would you rather protest against Joe Biden, or would you rather protest against Donald Trump? Think about it in that way. All right, we're going to get more into that later into the program. That's my little spiel for the top. Let's bring on the banjo legend from New Orleans, Mr. Don Vappy, with our song of the week. You got a new setup this week. You got a microphone.
I got a microphone.
Well, why don't we just get rolling with the music then? And we'll
the
talk
huge
after.
Microphone, isn't it?
What are we playing today? What's our song of the week?
I couldn't afford a Hummer, so I got this huge microphone. And all week long, man. I mean, there's so much going on, and you know that.
I know.
So I've been thinking about the kids in we call them kids in cages, detention centers and stuff. And I wondered, how could you make them happy? Anyway, I've been wanting to do something. I don't know. I'm going to play the song my ice cream truck played in New Orleans when I was a kid.
I love that.
And actually, I read that it was the same ice cream truck song in Denver. So it's interesting, huh? So
I have a thought about this, but why don't we talk about it after?
Okay. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, this was the song my ice cream truck played.
Fabulous as always.
All right.
You know what I loved about this is that you didn't even use the microphone.
I just wanted to prove I didn't need it. I know, man.
You're tuned in to Staying Home with Josh Fox, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. We're here with Don Vappy, the banjo legend from New Orleans.
And my new microphone.
Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so Don,
Yeah.
a few minutes to talk about ice cream. So that was the song that the ice cream truck played?
Yeah, that
was it a Mr. Softy truck? What was it?
No, I never knew what the name of the song was until decades later when I started playing with some of the older musicians in New Orleans. I think it was Willie Humphrey. And
what is that the name of that song?
The tune is called Red Wing. It's an old song. Wow. And it's about an Indian maid who loses her, the lyrics are about, dies in battle. It's kind of sad. But the thing is, it was called Red Wing Ice Cream. And we just,
doesn't it sound like I'm dripping in banana? I'm rooting for something, that one.
Yeah. Well, that's the part. It was the B section of the song that it da 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 da.
I'm rooting for the Yankees, whatever that is. That's like a baseball song too. Yeah, well, let me just say this. So when I went to school in New York City, public school number 6, it was a school that bisected the richest neighborhood in town, district-wise, and one of the poorest neighborhoods in town, in the entire United States. So you had the Upper East Side, and you had Harlem, okay? And so kids from that school would come from the Upper East Side, and they would come from Harlem. I, of course, came from neither of those places. I came from the West Side. I just took the bus, and we lied about where I lived to get into that school. So I was the odd man out. But all of my friends, I would go and have lunch with them, or go play with them or whatever after school. And half of them lived in these duplexes on Park Avenue with a maid and fancy lunch and everything. The other half of them were living in a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 brothers and sisters, right?
Gotcha.
So in the rich white neighborhood, there was one ice cream song. And in the poor black neighborhood, there was a totally other ice cream song. And I put this together. It was very strange. There's the Mr. Softy song, which was in the rich white neighborhood. And in the poor black neighborhood, was the song which went da na 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 na, hey, and it was a little bit more aggressive. But I always wondered why that, it's just like everything else, right? America is completely bifurcated in different worlds.
Yeah. I can't figure that other than to make that statement that this is your ice cream truck and this is ours. I mean, it could be,
Same ice cream too. Same exact ice cream.
Well, that's kind of
probably one costs a lot more.
Maybe the one in the black.
I'm pretty sure I know that because I used to end up arguing with people over the price of ice cream in New York City quite a lot.
Okay.
If I'm in an expensive neighborhood, it would be charging you $2 for like a 50-cent ice cream, and I would yell at them and I'd say, "In my neighborhood, it's 50 cents." Anyway, I love this idea that music is so personal.
Yes.
Music and culture is so personal. And what you've just exhibited for us today.
Thank you. That's the ice cream. I'm wanting ice cream now.
Well, let's move. Don, thank you so much for this Friday occasion. You're tuned in to Staying Home with Josh Fox, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. We'll be right back. You're tuned in to Staying Home with Josh Fox, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal and why we're not going back. And we are continuing our week-long celebration of the 10-year anniversary of this movie right here, Gasland. And if you haven't seen Gasland, it's on my website right now for free, joshfoxfilm.com, as with many of my other films. And it is my great pleasure to have with us today the godfather of cement, the man from Cornell who revitalized the fracking movement with his revelations from the insider's point of view, a person who was on the inside of understanding or helping, I guess, develop fracking from the beginning, and now then blew the whistle all over it. Mr. Tony Ingraffia, Professor Tony Ingraffia from Cornell University. How are you, Tony?
Great, Josh. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. How about just Tony from now on?
Just Tony. All right, fine.
Turkey hunting buddy. Your turkey hunting buddy, Tony.
That's true. He is my turkey hunting buddy, and I'm trying to get him down here to PA to do some fly fishing. So listen, Tony, we had huge news in terms of the world's, and now people who don't necessarily pay attention to fracking are probably not going to understand the gravity of this situation, but it is a big, big deal. For 10 years, and we showed just earlier in the week a segment on Dimock, Pennsylvania, and on Josh Shapiro. So if you haven't watched that episode, catch up with that, because Josh Shapiro, the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, has charged the fracking company, the culprit in Northeast Pennsylvania town of Dimock, where I first went to investigate fracking, with criminal charges, felonies, which are committed against the environment. This is pretty astounding, don't you think, Tony?
Absolutely astounding, just fitting. You know, there are 2 anniversaries here. This is the 10th anniversary of Gasland. It's also the 10th anniversary of my getting involved as an expert witness in the civil suit, not the criminal suit, the civil suit of the families against Cabot Oil and Gas in Dimock. It was 10 years ago that I said, yeah, I'd be glad to be an expert pro bono. It took 7 years to get to court.
So I'll paint this out. If you didn't watch the episode from a couple of days ago or yesterday about Dimock, many families along this one road, Carter Road.
19 families.
19 families along several roads, but some of them that I interviewed along this single road had such insane problems with their water right after drilling had happened. And this is rural Pennsylvania, like the purest, like the place where there's the water runs beautiful, just as it does throughout a lot of PA. Because it's never been developed. It's never been an industrial place. And then all of a sudden, people's laundry water turned black. Their kids were getting sick. Their animals were dying. They had bubbling and fizzing stuff coming out of the taps that, lo and behold, they could light on fire. Norma Fiorentino's water well, one of the residents, exploded on New Year's Day. All the families were out at church, and they came home from church, and they discovered the concrete casing of the water well strewn all over the yard. And there were helicopter shots of that, like, water well and how it had exploded. And Tony, you were there to testify that this was not normal, that this was because of drilling. Tell us about the science behind that.
It's very simple in this particular case. Cabot Oil and Gas, which have been operating in many places around the country, decided to be one of the early adopters of shale gas development in Pennsylvania. And in 2006, 2007, 2008, they started leasing up big swaths of land, especially in Susquehanna County, where Dimock is located. And in 2008, they started drilling. And they started drilling like crazy.
Yeah.
When I testified, I quoted the number of wells that they drilled in a month. And there was an area called, and it's now called the restricted area, 9 square miles around Dimock. And they pounded the hell out of that area, 43 pads in 9 square miles.
And each pad can have up to 10 wells.
And each pad had many wells. And they didn't have the experience of drilling there. Where you drill has a lot to do with what Mother Nature allows you to do. You just don't do what you want to. You don't impose on underground Mother Nature.
Right.
You hope that what you're doing she'll accept. In this case, you rejected it. So they drilled without adequate knowledge of the local geology, and they failed time and time again to do what the industry says they always do without fail. They have well-bore integrity. Such a heavy phrase. I love that phrase. Well-bore integrity.
Anything
their
that says
executives don't have
integrity,
any integrity.
They don't
but
have
their
integrity.
well-bores have integrity.
Right.
And so they just drilled a lot of wells that leak like crazy.
Right.
And so they allowed methane coming up from not only the Marcellus, but layers of shale between the surface and the Marcellus that they weren't really aware of, high pressure layers of other natural gas, methane. And the wells were drilled in such a way that they were faulty. The cement jobs were not adequately done. It was bad.
Well, it's Tony,
that was
it's
the
your
basis
science.
of the civil suit.
It's your science or your knowledge of the science that has pointed out that the industry itself understands. Now, just for people at home, this sounds a little like we're getting in the weeds, but listen to this. You know that there's oil that gets drilled all over the place. There's gas that gets fracked all across America in 34 states. And the industry always comes out and they say, oh, everything's going to be fine. It's perfectly environmentally friendly. It just looks like a fire hydrant in the middle of your field. Of course, they leave out the fact that, that they're going to bring in, millions of gallons of toxic fluid that will end up being waste that they're going to spread all over the place, that they're going to inject carcinogens and neurotoxins into the ground, into the substrata, that they're going to use drilling muds that are petroleum distillates that are going to go into the water table, that they're going to have 7 or 8 or 1,000 truck trips per well, meaning there's going to be nonstop trucks running all over the place. That these are diesel generators on site, that they're blowing black smoke into people's face, and they're leaking volatile organic compounds like benzene, ethylbenzene, toluene, xylene, and the waste material is radioactive. They leave all that out, right? So when they come to your town, they completely destroy it, and it is done. It is gone. It is very, very, very difficult and dangerous to live there, especially in Pennsylvania, where you have no access to clean water if you don't have a water well, right? 1 million or 2 million people, I think it is in PA, the second most in the nation, second only to Michigan, have private water wells. That's how people subsist around here. And if you have no water, your property is worthless. You have no house. You have to haul water from somewhere else. And this was the situation of these people. So Tony brought to light science from the industry, from Schlumberger, that said what, Tony?
It is a well-known problem that when you drill a well, and not getting into the weeds too much, you have to use cement, you have to use steel. You design the well such that what you want to get out of it, oil or gas, only comes up in a pipe that you want it to come up in. It doesn't always work out that way.
Well, no,
in fact, a significant percentage of time, it doesn't work out at all. What you're trying to get at comes up outside the well, which means it can get into your water table, which you're accessing, as you just said, for your private water well. And the methane migrates right to the surface, and it goes into the atmosphere as a greenhouse gas.
You're tuned in to Staying Home with Josh Fox, your revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal. We're celebrating 10 years of this movie right here, Gasland, which broke the story on fracking. It's my movie. I know all about it. I'm going to tell you more about it. Fracking, obviously, one of the most dangerous forms of energy development in the world, and now has taken over the United States. And fracked gas is now one of our chief ways of creating electricity. But we're talking about a town in Pennsylvania, Dimock. It's sort of like the canary in the coal mine, or the town crier in the middle of the square of the United States, screaming out that this is a huge problem. And Tony and I are celebrating because the drilling company, the fracking company in question, is now being held on criminal charges in the state of Pennsylvania. Huge, huge, big deal. And we're talking about how often the wells fail. And the science that you showed to me showed, and some of which that I found on my own that had sort of fallen off the back of the truck, we should say, showed that very high percentages of these wells just fail. A lot of them fail 5% of them fail upon the first drilling, and then up to 60% over the life of the well, maybe 10, 15 years later.
That's
right? Something like that?
That's exactly what the science says.
And how long do you need a drilling well to keep its integrity if you want to keep the water clean?
Forever. Let me repeat. Forever. Well, at least as long as you think you're going to need water, or at least as long as you think you're going to live in that area and need water. How do you want me to answer that?
Well, I mean, that's
a long time.
Well, because when you have, can you clean the aquifers once those chemical materials are down in the substrata? Can you get that out of there, or is it contaminated from,
No, not in any cost-effective or in a single lifetime effective way. If you stop the source, that's kind of hard to do because the source has been down there for 350 million years, and you've allowed access of that methane and ethane and propane and butane and BTEX. You've given it access into the water table. So yeah, if you want to wait another 350 million years till that all dissipates, then you're okay. It goes back to that forever business.
And this is what's happening all across America. That's why it's so crucial that we continue to campaign to ban fracking, period, end of story. It has to be banned. And there's another major reason. And this is another story that Tony and Graphia broke, which has to do with climate change. Climate change and fracking. Now, when we first started, the gas industry went out there and said that, gas is better than coal. It's just better. And so all these environmentalists and people like President Obama and Joe Biden were like, yeah, this is great. We love it. It's half the emissions from coal. Let's do that instead. So we'll cut our emissions in half. Well, that turned out to be not so true. Tony, tell us why.
Well, it's true. What you said is true. It's better than coal for generating electricity. It's better than gasoline for running a car if you're using compressed natural gas, if and only if you neglect climate change.
Right.
That is, if you only take into account the carbon dioxide that you get by burning natural gas or burning coal or burning oil or burning gasoline, you always get carbon dioxide. And that's a greenhouse gas. But if that's the only one you consider, you're wearing blinders. Because there are other greenhouse gases associated with fracking. Methane. Methane is a greenhouse gas that's much more potent as a climate change agent than carbon dioxide, about 100 times more potent immediately. Wow. So if it's 100 times more potent than carbon dioxide, then just a little bit of it gets into the atmosphere. It has the same effect as a lot of carbon dioxide. And as we just got through saying, when you drill wells, when you frack wells, when you transport gas through pipelines, when you put gas through compressor stations and processing units, when you burn gas in your kitchen to cook your hamburger, there's leakage. It doesn't all go where you want it to, and it doesn't all get burned. So you're emitting methane in your kitchen when you're cooking your hamburger, because that natural gas, that beautiful blue flame, it's not completely combusting. You're getting carbon dioxide, you're getting carbon monoxide, and you're getting methane. And between there and the well, there are lots of places where it leaks. And as we just said, a little bit of leakage of methane has a huge effect on climate change.
And we're talking about leakage in what type of percentage? In terms of the whole life cycle from fracking to the end use in the power plant or wherever?
As usual, it depends upon where you're talking about, but on a national average, taking the entire United States, every place where there's oil or gas developed, the best scientific estimates, all done within the last 9 years, by the way, because of the paper that we wrote in 2011. It said, you sure as hell better look at this problem, because nobody was looking at it.
Right.
Now we have hundreds of papers, and the best scientific evidence is somewhere around 3-4% of all the natural gas that comes out of the ground as a result of drilling and fracking for gas and oil never gets to an end user. It gets into the atmosphere, and that makes it worse than coal.
Right. Because it is 4% is like and that's in
multiply by a big number.
But we're also talking about places that, like in the Permian Basin, or places that I've seen in PA, where they're venting the gas directly off into the atmosphere, venting it off right up into the air, like in North Dakota, South Dakota. So there's not just the leakage part; there's also intentional venting, and we're having a methane spike in the atmosphere right now. NASA has observed it. They said 70% of it or so is due to fracking. Now, what do we have to do about this? This is why in this election, this is so important. Joe Biden is our nominee. Joe Biden is the guy who we got to elect. I have said to the Democrats many times, I will vote for a piece of toast over Donald Trump. Now, unfortunately, they took this instruction literally and gave us a piece of toast named Joe Biden. However, Joe Biden is still a pro-fracking guy. By the way, Kamala Harris is for a ban on fracking. Elizabeth Warren for a ban on fracking. Many of his candidates in the VP slot are for a ban on fracking. So that's good news. We must stop the insanity, because can we frack for the next 10 years and have a stable climate? Tony?
No, absolutely not. The best science, whoever you want to talk about, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is where 99.9% of all the best science is done. They've made it very clear. We've got, as AOC says correctly, we now have fewer than 10 years to substantially reduce all greenhouse gases. Read substantially as like knock them down by 75%. And so what are you going to knock down?
75%?
Yeah. So you have to, we should have started 20 years ago when they figured out how to get oil and gas out of shale with fracking. If we had started 20 years, a managed decline, what people call the managed decline of the fossil fuel era, we'd be in great shape right now. We wouldn't be facing, oblivion 9 years from now. But instead, we opened up Pandora's box. We went to the last remaining major source of oil and gas, shale, fracked the shit out of it, pardon my French, and we delayed by 20 years the transition to renewable energy. So now we're facing it. We got 9.5 years left.
And we're talking about reducing by 75%, Tony.
Yeah.
And during COVID, just to fathom 75%, it means a huge upscale of renewable energy, which we have talked about on other episodes of this program.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, think about during coronavirus, which we all understood was a very violent downturn of industrial activity in a good way. I shouldn't say violent, a peaceful downturn in the violence of industrial activity. We only lost 17% of emissions or something like that. Right. 75% would be drastic. But give us in a minute the ray of hope here about renewable energy. Tell us, we have 1 minute left, but tell us what's so positive about the renewable energy future.
The free market is coming to our rescue.
Don't say that.
There it is. Honestly, I hate to say it, but the free market literally is coming to our rescue because the free market has just told the oil and gas industry, sayonara. You ain't getting any more money from us. Okay, you're self-destructed, and now we're not going to give you any more money. And by the way, you know where the money's going? It's going to renewable energy. It's going to offshore and onshore wind. It's going into large-scale solar. It's going into importing more hydro in New York from Canada. It's going into upgrading the grid. It's going into electric vehicle research, development, and sales. We're riding a huge wave. We talk about wave with coronavirus. That's a bad wave. But the good wave we're riding, we're surfing a revolution right now. We're surfing the revolution in renewable energy. And I can't wait to hang my tent on that board, I'll tell you.
Well, Tony, I think you've earned yourself yet one more moniker. The
surfer dude?
Surfer of the wave of renewable energy.
Okay,
Tony Graffia, always happy to have you on the show. Always happy to see you. Hopefully you can come down here and we can go socially distanced fly fishing very soon. I just walked the whole stream and there was trout all over. I could see them.
I'm coming.
All right.
Coming sooner
We're
or
gonna
later.
make it happen.
Can't wait.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Ciao.
You're tuned in to Staying Home with Josh Fox. We'll be right back. And we're back. You're tuned in to Staying Home with Josh Fox, the revolutionary guide to the Green New Deal and why we're not going back. And it is my favorite segment of the week. Always. I'm going to put on my special Friday cocktail jacket because we're live with Christophe Dorneman from Arnaud's French 75, James Beard Award-winning bar in the Crescent City of New Orleans, and we're going to have the cocktail of the week. Christophe, how are you?
Doing all right. I don't know. It's hard to answer that.
Let's start over. Christophe, how are you?
I'm doing fine. You know,
something happened.
It's harder to answer that straight face, you know. And I mean, I don't know.
What's on your mind? What are we drinking today?
Okay. Well, so I think that I like what we did last week. We picked one of my favorite cocktails and one of your favorite cocktails, the Creole. And you wanted to do stuff that was a little more interesting. And so now I'm going to do a very iconic special drink, which is one of my other favorite cocktails of all time, the Brandy Crusta. And it's also a great symbol of New Orleans. It is a New Orleans original cocktail. It is rumored to be the first cocktail ever with citrus, besides punches and things, and the first sugar-rimmed cocktail of all time.
I have to get sugar?
No, it's okay. You don't have to have it. The sugar rim is a nice little element to it, but you don't have to do it.
I can go get it. Through the magic of editing, I will be. I've got it right here. Sugar. All right, Christophe. I was asking you what's on your mind, though. I was asking you what's on your mind.
I don't know. I think it's like I haven't been stir crazy for most of this time, but I'm starting to get stir crazy now.
Starting to get stir crazy.
And I am going to do a trip to Minneapolis, and like even just figuring out the safe way to do that is a little stressful.
Right. Right.
You know, like
it is.
Stopping in random gas stations on the way and being like, okay, is this a county that believes that the virus exists or not.
Yeah.
You never know.
When I go on the road, and I had to several times to go to protests in New York, also to vote in New York, I bring some latex gloves. And when I get out of the car, I put on that mask, and I have a heavy-duty mask. Everybody knows this very same mask here, as you might see in Gasland. We're still celebrating the 10-year anniversary. You see that mask, and I put on those gloves. And if people look at me weird, they look at me weird. That's it.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I'm
it's
following
my
all
job. People have to understand this. It is your job right now just to not get the coronavirus and just to not spread the coronavirus. Yeah. Everything else is gravy. Everything else is gravy. If you get through this period of time not getting the coronavirus, not spreading the coronavirus, please, even if you get it, that's not your fault. But if you take precautions and people make fun of you, that's nonsense. That's a culture war, and we all know what that's about, right? Yeah. Sorry, Christoph. Let's get on to one of the most iconic. I'm ready to stab this lemon on behalf of your personal frustration.
So before you stab it, though, try to, if you can, use your knife and peel off a nice big lemon twist from there.
Oh,
this drink is very.
This is what I call the Pennsylvania hunting knife lemon twist. I've got it.
So you want to see my lemon twist?
Yes, I do. Whoa! All right, here we go. It's a lemon twist off.
Yeah, it's all good. But then
lemon
also,
twist off. That's I think
that's
a game where teenagers fool around.
Yeah,
lemon twist off. You do that in camp.
That's the joke at the bar when you go, I need a twist, and you do this instead of.
Oh no! We're not going there.
All right. So what you need to do before you juice that lemon is take a little bit of that lemon and rub some juices around the edge of the glass that you're choosing to drink out of.
Now, am I using this kind of glass?
Yeah. That's a perfect crust of glass. So make it so it has a nice little glistening edge.
A glistening edge. It's an imperfect crust of glass. It's got quite a few chips. I can only drink out of half of it, but whatever. We're out here in PA, and this is what's going on. We're in a sequin jacket in a garage in Pennsylvania, drinking. All right, I've done that.
Once you have a nice glistening edge, you're going to dunk it or dip it. Very careful. You don't want a lot of sugar to fall in the glass. You want it to be on the outside. And you're going to do a nice, pretty sugar rim.
I see. I think I overdid it, but that's all right.
That's okay.
We all need a little extra sweetness.
Yeah, and that's where.
Now I can't tell which part of the glass is chipped, though. Whatever. We're gonna
avoid that part.
We're gonna live dangerously.
The recipe. All right. Okay. So now that's done, and now we can make the drink. So we're gonna start. I'm gonna do a little more than half an ounce of lemon juice.
Wow, I can hear the Mississippi River. Sorry. This is the only segment where I get to be.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can hear something.
We can talk this way. This is the way FaceTime is going. With the way the United States is falling apart, we're going to be doing this show via cocktail stir glassings connected with a string. That's going to happen. I can feel it. It's in our future. The infrastructure is crumbling around us.
All right.
I feel we're running long. We must get to it. I can feel Scott saying, get to the drink.
All right. You have your lemon juice. You're doing about half an ounce. You're doing about 3/4 ounces, half an ounce of orange liqueur.
Okay. How much lemon juice?
Half an ounce.
Okay. That's half an ounce. Orange liqueur. Oh.
Yeah. So
dag nabbit. What's
going on today? Same amount of orange liqueur to your lemon juice. Or a little extra lemon, depending on your orange liqueur. I guess this is also going to be edited out.
Orange liqueur.
All right. So since you're using Grand Marnier, you want to do a little less orange liqueur than the lemon juice. So you're doing a solid half ounce of orange liqueur.
Got it.
You might want to add a splash extra lemon once you get finished with this.
Okay, it's in there.
Then 1/4 ounce of Luxardo liqueur.
Luxardo liqueur. This is a very fancy, weird tasting thing. 1/4 ounce. Whoops. I just spilled some on my headphone. Headphones are going to be happy.
You gotta be very careful. Casardo is very intense, so you got to be very.
It is very intense.
All right, and then 2 dashes of Angostura bitters.
Angostura bitters, 2 dashes, 1, 2.
And then I'm doing brandy, and you're going to do whiskey, and you're going to.
Yes, I am.
I would go for kind of like a 1 3/4. So, but I think you have a 1.5 ounce jigger, so just fill that guy up, and you're good to go.
All right, there it is. It's in. It's in the
All right.
ingredients.
So a nice hearty shake, and strain it into your nice sugar encrusted.
Wait, I didn't put ice in.
Yep. Put your ice in your shaker.
The ice is in. And then shake it.
A nice hearty 15-count shake. Get it?
You. Okay. And you pour that into the rim?
Yep.
The glass with the sugar rim? Whoa, the elixir of the gods.
Yeah, it should be a nice kind of amber, light
Oh,
amber
it is
color.
beautiful. Do I put the other lemon twist in it or not?
Yeah, so traditionally this drink is known for having a ridiculously long kind of over the top lemon twist. So you don't have that, but that's okay. You do want that orange oil expressed on top of the drink.
Oh, beautiful.
And in the past, it was kind of served in sort of like a wine goblet, so you can make it almost like a crown around it. I do. I just dropped it in there. What I do is called like a horsetail, where it's kind of hanging over the edge.
Oh, that looks beautiful, Christoph. Well, thank you so much for everyone for being with us this week. Cheers.
Cheers. Yep.
That's utterly amazing. You're tuned in to Staying Home with Josh Fox.
Delicious.
Thank you so much for celebrating Gasland with us this week. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Christoph. Incredible. Wow.
Don't hesitate to lick the sugar off the rim.
And as in drinking and in life, don't hesitate to lick the sugar off the rim. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers. Good night. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of my.
Whoa. Damn.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy we were putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. people get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
This isn't Anderson Cooper. If you say some BS, I'm not simply going to let it slide and then move on to the next thing.
This is what the establishment does not understand about politics. You can change the conversation.
This is my place in that broader revolution.
We first have to fight to prove that we are human. We then have to fight for our freedom. Then we fight for our equality. And now we are fighting for our survival because your militarized police force thinks it's okay to shoot us at any point in time.
Look at what's happening in society today, and it's hard not to think about what was going on in the 50s and 60s.
We're all out here. Just everybody that cares about where this country's going, we're out here.
We are going to win this fight. We are going to transform this country.
Whoever wins this primary wins the seat.
We just took down one of the top establishment Democrats in the country. Down goes Crowley! Down goes Crowley!
This is the beginning.
What do we got? We got
Best moment of my life, I guess, would have to be when the kid was born. Like, you know, because suddenly that meant I served my purpose. Very close second, the day we sold Clerks. That changed my life. In fact, Harley wouldn't have been born if I hadn't sold Clerks. So that noise. Clerks, probably the biggest day, best day of my life. It led to everything else. I got the wife and the kid because Clerks happened. So don't tell the kid, but Clerks.
Our teachers are suffering, and we won't even cut 10% of the money going to military contract.
The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this: a modern brick school in more than 30 cities.
A tiny sliver of the defense budget would pay for 395,000 teachers.
We're talking about the future of the country. We're talking about the nation's youth and making sure that we are competitive globally. And the only way to do that is to make sure that we provide quality education for our young people.
We are onto something that is going to be amazing. But what we need is your help.
The number one problem is there's too much power in too few hands.
Every single problem that we have can be traced back to dark money.
They take large donors, they serve large donors.
So these handful of gatekeepers try to dictate everything.
Like all of you already know, they don't work for you, they work for their donors. So fire them and hire people who will only work for you that say no corporate PAC money.
We are going to change the way we elect candidates in this country.
Uncorrupted Democrats. We're going to fight for the issues and win on policy.
This is incredibly personal. We need free health care for everyone.
We're fighting for $15 minimum wage, single-payer health care, debt-free college, and we are going to get money out of politics once and for all.
I've taken a public pledge not to accept any corporate money.
Because the last thing we're going to do is go into another presidential election and run a corporatist against a populist candidate.
At some point, the buck needs to stop, and it's going to stop with us. It's going to stop with Justice Democrats.
So who are we?
People who do not take corporate PAC money.
We're relying on small donors.
99.9% of our contributions came from people.
You're a Just Democrat, so you don't take any corporate PAC money.
I'm not influenced by money. As a Justice Democrat, I made that pledge.
Not a penny. Absolutely no.
I will go to Congress unbossed and unbought.
We try to create a government which works for all of us.
That is what America's about, and that's what a representative democracy should be about.
We are just getting warmed up here.
Vote for uncorrupted Democrats. The fight starts now, it starts today, and it starts with you.
I've been honest with him. Like, yeah, I was upset with you and I shouldn't have done it. But instead I was like, I'm just trying to protect my engagement ring.
Guys, not a big deal, but you're about to save the planet. So here's how it works. We're planting 10 trees for everyone who signs up at aspiration.com/TYT. Aspiration and TYT are doing this together. Do you have any idea what 10 trees do? Hold on, let me explain. First of all, one tree can provide a day's supply of oxygen for up to 4 people. I plant 10 trees, or you plant 10 trees by going to aspiration.com/TYT. That's 40 people. You're giving oxygen to 40 people. What are you gonna argue with that? You can't argue with that. But if you do, during 1 year, a mature tree will absorb more than 48 pounds of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and release oxygen in exchange. We capture the carbon dioxide, release the oxygen. Aspiration.com/TYT. You save money and you save the planet. What else do you want to do? Come on, aspiration.com/TYT. All right, not only that, you can plant a tree with every purchase once you're in Aspiration and you have an account. There's no way this is going to get better. Oh my God, no deposits used for oil drills or pipelines. Oh my God, up to 10% cash back for socially conscious shopping. Hello. With Aspiration Spend and Save, you get the world's first cashback account that lets you track the impact of your spending, all managed through what an intuitive app. Would a hero sign up for Aspiration through aspiration.com/TYT? I guess.
So this is what democracy looks like. We have to be aggressive, we have to be powerful, we have to go hard, and we have to go for what is ours because they are not going to give it to us.
The system is flawed. I mean, the primary system is archaic, stupid, made up.
If you think that accomplishing a leftist movement here is going to be easy, you're wrong. We have to fight.
It has begun.
The
powerful do not give up their power easily.
No.
2020 is everything.
you guys ready for this? Drop it. All right, so it's Friday. Not really a power panel, but it's fun anyway. All right, Jake and Anna with you guys. So we got hilarious Trump clips for you guys today. It'll lighten the mood a little bit. Hey, turns out our president's totally mentally damaged. Literally, very, very, very literally. You will see it, and even if you're a Trump supporter, I think that you'll have some question mark at the end, like, maybe that wasn't a hyperbole. Maybe they were actually being serious when they said it was literal. So you'll get that a little bit later in the program. So first of all, I got to tell you guys, today's Bananas Day. The good folks at shoptyt.com giving away bananas. No, they're giving away much more valuable things. 30% off. If you're a member, you got to be a member. So tyt.com/join to become a member. And then if you're a member, you go to tyt.com/notice, 30% off site-wide. Sight unseen, 30% off. So you got the social distancing mask. If you can read this, you're not practicing social distancing. You got no justice, no peace mask. You got the members only jacket that we've got now, which is super badass. You've got the Great Indoors t-shirt. You've got the original Young Turk. My dad's book is selling through the roof. Okay, I love it. It's a great American dream story. You should check that out. There's so much on there. 30% off. Members go nuts, okay? And obviously, it'll only last one day. And then I wanted to see, there were about 4 days that left on the rest of the month. So let's see if we're anywhere near our $200,000 goal at tyt.com/go. So let's take a look at the thermometer. Ooh, we got closer. 135,022. Obviously, still got a long way to go. Anything you could do to help would be fantastic. And now, by the way, I've got it so that I can see your names live as you guys give. And so I'm going to institute a new rule by myself here. I'm just going to, from time to time, read first names only. Because I don't know if you want your last name out there. I don't know if you want where you're from out there. So from every once in a while, I'll just read some names because I love you guys. Thank you. All right, Anna, lots of show. Let's do it.
All right. Well, I wanted to start off with an update to the Elijah McClain story. So Colorado Governor Jared Polis has announced the reopening of an investigation into the death of a 23-year-old man last year. Elijah McClain is his name. And in a previous story, we gave you all the horrific details of how he was killed by 3 cops in Aurora, Colorado. He was seen by a civilian wearing a ski mask. That person called 911 and called the cops, arguing that he looked suspicious. That's when the cops showed up, and unfortunately, things escalated to a point where they put him in a chokehold, and later a medic showed up and injected him with ketamine. He was dead a few days later, but was already brain dead by the time he made it to the hospital. Now, luckily, the governor has called for an investigation because last year, the district attorney, Dave Young, decided that he would not pursue charges against the cops who did this. And that's a huge problem. And I was happy to see that Dave Young, the DA, agreed to an interview on Chris Cuomo's show. And it was revealing, to say the least. So let's start off with the very first video where the district attorney makes one of the most ridiculous arguments you could imagine about a 23-year-old who is dead. Take a look.
And ketamine. Based on speculation. It's not speculation. You could have investigated more. So you're saying if a pathologist doesn't give you a home run, you never go forward with a case? And by the way, there was no injuries to him whatsoever. He's dead. Serious. He's dead. Yeah, if you want to say the forensic pathologist doesn't know what he's doing, you could say that all you want. No, that's what you're saying to get away from my question. You're saying there are no injuries. The guy's dead. So clearly things happened to him that were wrong, Mr. DA. Yeah, he's got a heart that's got a very narrow valve, an aorta valve, and he probably most likely died from excited delirium, where he had a heart attack.
So, Cenk, the DA argues that McClain had no injuries, even though he died because of that incident with the cops. So how can you argue that there's no injuries when he's dead? And I want to give Cuomo credit because he did hold the DA's feet to the fire throughout that entire interview.
Yeah, Cuomo did a great job there. And so in terms of the DA, it's incredibly callous. Look, it's one thing to argue, look, I'm stuck here. I want to charge someone in his death because obviously he wouldn't have died if he had not had that encounter with the police. But I'm not sure if I can charge the cops or the paramedic who did the ketamine, and the medical examiner report puts me in a tough spot. He's giving half of that argument, but that's the only argument he can make. Everything else he's saying is monstrous. So when he says, well, there was no other injuries on the guy, who cares that there was no other injuries? They choked him to death or ketamined him to death. But they killed him. They obviously killed him right in front of our eyes, saying, oh, he didn't have a black eye while we were murdering him, is like the most irrelevant thing anyone has ever said. And you would only say that if you're trying to protect the cops and not the victim. Remember, Elijah is the victim. I know cops love to play victim. Oh, now you're going to charge me for killing someone after I killed him for no reason at all? No, you're not the victim. The dead person is the victim.
Yeah, and it's incredible because the DA also cites some nonsense about, oh, he had a narrow artery and that might have contributed to it and it could have been a crazy freak coincidence. No, let me give you details, okay? These are details of what happened that night. And this is based on what the coroner's report says. This is based on what the police report says. An autopsy report by the Adams County coroner said that the cause of death was, quote, undetermined, and that it could have been the result of natural causes, a homicide related to the chokehold, or an accident. Okay, so I don't really know what the point of a coroner is if they can't determine what the cause of death is. It's like, I don't know, it could be a billion different things. It could be a freak accident. It could be, I don't know, maybe because the cops put him not in one, but two different chokeholds as he was vomiting as a result of the chokeholds. Okay, let me give you more. But while he was detained, Mr. McLean was clearly in distress. After officers restrained him on the ground, he vomited several times, for which he apologized. He apologized for vomiting, saying, quote, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to do that. I can't breathe correctly. He was 140 pounds, 5 feet, 6 inches, and there were 3 cops there. And he is apologizing to the cops as he's vomiting. He was not an imminent threat to them whatsoever. There was no need to inject him with ketamine once the medic got there. I mean, any and all arguments defending the cops' actions here are ridiculous to say the least. People who are defending the cops here know what they're doing. Let me give you more. An officer said in the body camera footage that officers had, quote, put him out with the chokehold twice, at least once successfully, meaning Mr. McLean had lost consciousness. When paramedics arrived, they gave him what was described as a therapeutic dose of ketamine. Body camera footage shows that it made his body go limp when he was loaded onto the gurney. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I got to jump in and say a couple of things here. So first of all, it's one of the oldest racist tropes that black folks are crazy strong. They're unnaturally strong. And so this kid who's, as Anna pointed out, 5'6", 140 pounds.
Yes.
The cops said on tape, you hear him saying it during the incident, I think when the paramedic arrives, they say he had crazy strength. He had crazy strength at 140 pounds with 3 of you on him. Well, but wait a minute. You also said he passed out twice from your 2 different chokeholds. So which one was it? But one thing that is absolutely indisputable is he's already completely and utterly subdued when, to be fair, not the cop but the paramedic injects him with ketamine. There was no need for that ketamine. None. Zero. But the idea is, oh my God, we got a black person here who's crazy strong, and what if this 140-pound kid just became a monster inside or something? I don't like that. So this is so frustrating that they treat black people differently than they treat other people. And this is, by the way, borne out by studies. It's not just one anecdote. Yes, in studies, people in general think that Black people are stronger than they actually are, older than they actually are by an average of 4 years, and it goes on. And so if he's already vomited, he's already apologized to you for vomiting, he's saying he can't breathe, he's saying, I just went to the store to get iced tea. You see the iced tea. You see he's not armed. You see all these things. He says, I wouldn't even hurt a fly. It's obvious that the kid is a special kid, right? He's not saying things that are normal. He's saying things that you would expect from someone who's kind of a gentle soul, if you will, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And they keep pounding him. They keep pounding him. And then after he's already passed out, then they hit him with the ketamine. And then the DA has the temerity to come out and say, well, other than killing him, they didn't injure him.
You know, the thing that video that we played yesterday when we first talked about the story was hard. It was really hard to stomach because he absolutely was a gentle soul. You know, one of the things that he liked to do was play the violin for cats at animal shelters so they wouldn't feel lonely. And look, I don't care if someone's a good person or a bad person. No one deserves to be killed like that by cops. But I bring that up only to make a point about how gentle he was as a person. And while they were choking him, he kept saying, I'm an introvert, and I'm different. And and while he did that so cats wouldn't feel lonely at shelters, he essentially died alone in absolute terror as cops were choking him out and medics were injecting him with ketamine. And to know that a person who's supposed to carry out justice in cases like this, the district attorney, just like washed his hands of it and didn't think that it was a big deal and didn't press charges, shows you how the system is rotten to the core. It's not just about the cops. It's about the prosecutors who have these friendly relationships with the cops, right? Because the DA, throughout this entire interview with Chris Cuomo, felt the need to defend the cops and just make up nonsense about, what else could have possibly contributed to the death of this 23-year-old man. All right, I want to go to this next video because here Dave Young makes the argument that he couldn't prove the case if he wanted to try. Take a look.
I have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the actions of those officers killed Elijah McClain.
What if
I do that?
What if you could just show that it contributed to it?
And that forensic autopsy report and the forensic pathologist who indicated to detectives that this young man could have died the next day by mowing his lawn. How do I overcome that?
I do not see that in the report anywhere. He did not say the guy could have dropped dead mowing his lawn the next day, not in any of the stuff that you offered.
You still have to prove that they caused his death by their negligence acts.
But you don't think the choke had anything to do with why he died?
There were no injuries to his neck. The man was alive after that happened.
But then why do you think he died?
Well, that's the question that we don't know. And in my business, I can't take a case to court that we don't know the answers to those questions.
No. Let me just be super clear. Dave Young's a piece of crap. And so he could have died the next day mowing the lawn. No, that's not true. The coroner never said that. You made that up. That's you dismissing it like, who cares? He could have dropped dead the next. He's 23 years old. He had no health problems. This total nonsense, a total utter lie to help his cop buddies. Because when us regular human beings that have empathy watch that tape, your heart breaks into. It's so obvious they shouldn't be attacking the kid. And the DA watches that and goes, attaboys. Who cares? I don't see anything wrong. So look, as a society, let's make a decision, okay? By the way, just to be, this is very important on a technical point. The coroner actually said that his carotid artery was partially blocked and that might have led to his death. It wasn't partially blocked for no reason. It was partially blocked because they just did the chokehold on his carotid artery twice until he passed out twice. And then the DA turns around and goes, I don't know. I mean, maybe it could have been through mowing the lawn. What do you mean you don't know? And by the way, Cuomo with another good question there. It's not binary. You don't have to say, murder one or nothing. You could say negligent homicide. There's a lot of different variations. And you could say what they did contributed to the death and charge them on that. You could look. You should definitely look at the paramedic as well who did the ketamine. So he doesn't want to do any of that. And we as a society have to decide, is it that those cops acted in a way that is completely out of control and they were not taught that, and they're just brutal maniacs? Or did we teach them to do that? And so I get it if the cops say, hey, listen, man, you did the training on me. You told me to choke out people. You told me black people were more dangerous. You told me all these things, and then I go and do it, and then you arrest me. So then don't tell them to do that stuff.
But it's not. In this case, sorry to interrupt you, Jake.
We tell them to do that. We do tell them.
No, we do. We do.
Use excessive violence at every turn.
No, I'm not denying that the training is a problem. I'm not denying that at all. But one of the details of the story that really stood out to me was that the cops reported his weight as 80 pounds heavier than he really is. And the reason why I bring that up is because it's the perception that they have of Black people, right? It goes back to what you said earlier about how they perceive them to be bigger and stronger and more dangerous than they are. And so there is a bias there that's very real that needs to be addressed. There's a problem with the training. There's no question about it. There's a problem with how these cases don't get prosecuted. There's a problem with our criminal justice system and how these district attorneys feel that these cops, regardless of what they do, are untouchable. I mean, the entire system needs to be looked at. It's not just about the training, and I know you weren't saying that, but there's clearly a racial bias by these cops if they're going to report that this 140-pound 23-year-old was actually 80 pounds heavier than he really was.
Yeah, look, one more thing, just as a matter of the training. So if you ran into a kid like that and you thought there's some chance he's got a ski mask on, it's August, that he's up to no good. You, as a normal human being, you might go up to him and you might have a conversation. And when he says, I'm an introvert, please don't touch me, and he tells you all the things that you saw on the tape, I would hope that almost no one would have the human reaction of tackling him and then choking him and then injecting him with ketamine. Almost no one. I mean, if they do, they're maniacs, sociopaths, right? But we teach the cops, oh, he kept walking. Turns out he was listening to music. He didn't even hear the cops. Okay. Oh, it could be that he's listening to music. Who cares? Tackle him, choke him, right? It could be that, he could be a different kind of kid. And he says, I'm a different kind of person, right? Who cares? Throw him to the ground, choke him. Throw him to the ground, choke him. That's what we always teach them. Throw him to the ground and kick the living crap out of him and maybe kill them if you think they're defying your orders for half a second. So don't tell me we don't teach it. We teach our cops to be more brutal than any average human being would ever be with a conscience.
And then finally, I just want to address the accusation by the person who called 911, claiming that McClain looked suspicious, right, because he was wearing a mask. By the way, I see a lot of people wearing all sorts of different types of masks out there. Some people wear bandanas, some people are wearing medical masks, some people are wearing homemade masks in order to, prevent the spread of coronavirus. I think that there is a very real and unaddressed issue regarding how Black people are perceived when they're wearing masks. But anyway, we'll get to that later. Here he is in surveillance video at the convenience store. And I just want you to take a look at it and to decide for yourself whether McClain looked suspicious in any way. Take a look.
McClain was wearing a ski mask. See him? He's not holding up the store, by the way. The video makes it clear he's standing in line and he buys his things, pays, leaves, has a mask on. Why? Why does he have a mask on? Because supposedly he had anemia and would sometimes get cold.
So, Cenk, he didn't look suspicious there, obviously. And I don't know. I just feel like if someone had just robbed a store, they wouldn't be calmly walking down the street with a ski mask on. But look, if you're a cop, your job should be to maybe ask a question or two before you decide to choke someone out to death. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's a crazy thought.
Look, to be fair to the person who called it in, the person clearly said, I don't think he's armed. He might be a bad guy, but he might be a good guy. They said that on the call. But the cops don't hear that. The cops hear, okay, we got a black guy. That's it. Don't listen to anything. Okay, so then you know what Elijah says? As the cops are choking him to death, he says, please look at my ID. I live right there. Please look at my ID. What do you want someone to do if they're presenting their ID to you? What else do you want them to do? What else do you want them to do to stay alive? I live right there. Here's my ID. I'm an introvert. What? He literally could not have said anything differently for them not to kill him. So look, you guys, I don't know if you're getting the depths of, if you're black, you're certainly getting it. It's not my role to tell you that. But if you're not, and it's still not resonating with you, and Matt, like, the society is told nonstop that black people are dangerous when they're not, when they're no different than anyone else. And so if you're white and you walk around and you don't know it, like, you just think that's normal. But for black folks, they got to worry that every time they run into a cop or someone else, that they're going to assume that a 140-pound kid is some sort of 220-pound monster with superhuman strength, who, when he says, I have iced tea, even though you can see it's iced tea, you assume I have to choke him to, within an inch of his life and sometimes over. So the injustice of it is unbearable. The fact that white racists then turn around and say that black people are too angry, you guys are nuts. They're not nearly angry enough. The injustice that they have suffered, and by the way, not just in this country, all across the world, all this sickening stereotypes that aren't remotely true about black people all across the world. How do you live with that injustice? That's now 2 young black boys who were killed carrying iced tea home. For God's sake, when are we ever going to have justice?
When we come back from the break, we'll give you an update on coronavirus, including Donald Trump's claim that the whole thing is just artificial. We'll be right back.
Old school's pitched to me from Jank. It'll just be me, you, Jesus, Ben, and maybe Michael. And we're like, okay, cool. I can do that every week. As you can see, me, Jesus, Ben.
When you make the order, it says, don't exceed $20.01. So I'll just order literally anything to get it as close to that as I possibly can.
I'm sorry that I ordered $45 worth of food and got an email saying, sir, would you like to rethink that? And I go, what are you talking about?
I was in hell. I was just like, oh my God, the theater's empty, nobody's here. Everyone on screen keeps f***ing cursing. Why did I let this happen? And the whole thing looks like it was shot through a glass of milk. My mom's gonna be so mad.
If you're looking for a heart attack, the short way, baby.
Wrong. I did put mayonnaise on it. I'm the most in shape, overweight person you'll find.
That's right.
He was like, why didn't you answer my call? I called you 39 times.
Yuck.
But what makes you stop right before 40? What makes you say, nah, man, I ain't doing that no more. I'm cool.
And I called you back on the air. And I was like, okay, Kevin Smith, big shot. What the f***? You said you'd come on and you didn't come on.
I'm sure I took that very well.
Yeah, you did. You called me back the next day and said, I thought it was 7 a.m. There's now deep fake porn. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
I heard of it. I just had some in the car.
I'll tell you who I'm not f***ing, Ben Mankiewicz.
Have you guys ever felt that?
Not ever.
And now it's just the 3 of us.
This is the intimate hour.
By the way, the last half hour of this, we're not even rolling.
Fair enough.
Kingsley.
See, I watch movies.
I'm done with both of you.
Once Craig starts laughing, I can't stop. And I was just gonna ask you about getting high.
Snoogans, Snoochie Boochies.
And members, of course, you can get the whole damn thing. TYT.com, join, and free trial. I'm old school with the old folks.
Good
John, come back.
Electric cars are awesome, but they aren't the best tool for every job. You can't park them on the edge of the sidewalk while you run into the store for a few things. On top of that, an electric car is just financially out of reach for many people. That's where Zoom electric scooters come in. When I say electric scooter, I'm talking about small motorcycles with space in front of you to put your feet. The Zoom scooter has a range of 60 miles, offers a smooth ride up to 40 miles per hour, and can be charged from any electrical outlet. Start saving on gas while reducing your carbon footprint. To find out more, go to tyt.com/Zoom. Enter the code TYT50 to get an additional discount.
I know the progressive base, and I know the establishment. We're gonna go to war.
There
is some good news, especially for progressives. Joining us now is Andrew Romanoff, who is running for the U.S. Senate seat in Colorado.
The most important thing we can do is flip the Senate from paralysis to progress. And the only way to do that is to make sure that we elect Democrats with the courage of our convictions, who are willing to fight for the progressive priorities we share.
Do democracy. Vote.
You got it. Use it.
Vote. Demand democracy. Advocate for criminal, social, and environmental justice for all.
Engage in democracy.
Run for office. You can be mayor, governor, president. Just run.
Democracy is powered by people like you and me.
Vote. Advocate. Engage. Visit naacp.org or text DEMAND to 40649 for more information.
I know what you're thinking. Cenk, where do I get unlimited, commission-free stock and ETF trades? Man, do I have good news for you. Doe.com/TYT. Yes, it's really unlimited trading. Yes, it's totally commission-free. Yes, they explain what an ETF is if you don't know it. But that's what's great about Doe, because they have wonderful explainer videos, and you got zero minimum balance. You got nothing for commissions. Doe.com/TYT. All right, welcome back to the Young Turks. Cenk and Anna with you guys. Sexy Speed Racer on our member site says, come on, Cenk, you and Anna are the ultimate power panel. Well, we appreciate that.
Aw.
So I say member site. There is only one site, tyt.com. But if you're a member, you get your comments read first. Also, 30% off of shoptyt.com site-wide today only if you're a member. tyt.com/join to become a member. And then once you're a member, by the way, make sure you go to tyt.com/notice to get the promo codes. Okay, Patrick says Joe Scarborough is speculating Trump might very well drop out before the election. Will Cenk win his bet with Chris Cuomo? You can have that bet all day long. Oh, yeah, it's not just a bet with Anna. We didn't bet any money on it, but Cuomo said that that would never happen. But now, as you're going to see in a clip we're going to play for you a little bit later, all of a sudden, right back in it. Okay. Anyway, Gabby Marita with a unfortunately good point where she says, yeah, and prisoners gassed by Zyklon B didn't have any other injuries either. If you don't count their lungs exploding. So it's really sick where we are these days. And Cenk flexing triceps, yes, that's an account. That's not me saying it. Says Elijah McClain had no injuries. Sounds similar to the blank police report in the Breonna Taylor case. What a coincidence. In other words, the cops are never wrong. Climate now on YouTube Super Chat. Climate change is coming says, hey, TYT, how long do humans have to correct course before the climate crisis locks in human extinction? Well, look, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to tell you about the great work that Tiwa Chang is doing. You guys helped us hire him. He's our investigative reporter. His job is to track problems in the climate and then connect it to money and politics so you know how it is the actual root cause of why we are not solving it. So please check out his great reporting at tyt.com/investigates. He and our managing editor, Jonathan Larson, do videos as well. They also give their perspective on different things. And Tiwa, obviously, being Asian, is giving his perspective these days on how he perceives things. But please check out his environmental reporting, tyt.com/investigates. And thank you, everybody, for putting that together. And by the way, if you want to join, you could. If you're on YouTube, you could just hit the join button below, too. And I got to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for all the other YouTube super chats and comments. Just last thought on the climate. Our partner Aspiration is also trying to help. They're very progressive. They're they're a financial institution. You can put your money there. They have great rates, but they also, every time you open an account, they plant 10 trees. There's just like this massive TYT/aspiration forest already with tens of thousands of trees, and you could help fix the planet that way as well. And you could plant more trees as you use the account. It's fossil fuel free. So aspiration.com/TYT. It's a great way to go. And if you have the account, please keep using it so it helps the environment. All right, Anna, go ahead.
All right. Coronavirus cases continue to surge in the United States. In fact, yesterday, on June 25th, we broke records yet again. The death toll also continues to climb. And Donald Trump has decided that now's a great time to minimize this pandemic as nothing more than an artificial issue. Mind you that 125,000 Americans have already died from the pandemic. And again, we're starting to see, record numbers of new cases, and we're not flattening the curve. So with that said, let's take a look at what Trump had to say.
So we've done a lot, and we're very proud of it. And we had the best, until this artificial problem, because I call it an artificial problem. We had to turn off our country to save millions of lives, and now we've turned it back on. And it's coming back much faster than anybody thought possible.
So, Cenk, yesterday alone, we found out that there were 40,000 new cases of coronavirus. That's the most new cases recorded in a single day. And 125,000 Americans are dead because of this pandemic and because of Donald Trump's inaction, incompetence, lack of leadership. It's just devastating. And he has not only just completely given up on the virus, he constantly, on a daily basis, spreads misinformation about it, discourages people from wearing masks, and gives people this false sense of confidence about going out there and mingling, with other people who could be spreading this virus.
Yeah, he's a clown extraordinaire, and I think the jury's coming in on him right here before the election comes up. The American people are turning on him in, as he would say, bigly. The polling is clear. Now he's losing in Georgia, in Texas, in Arizona, in Florida. He's getting killed everywhere. Why? Because people can, you guys have got to remember, there's a certain core of people that follow the news and politics a lot. And then there's some who followed a little, and then there's some who never followed at all. So as much as we are neck deep in what a clown Donald Trump is, I know it seems shocking, but a lot of people are seeing these comments for the first time. And he's overwhelming the media with so much circus that you can't avoid it. It's a three-ring circus. So look at that comment. I call it artificial. Yeah, but imagine FDR being like, well, everything was going great until Pearl Harbor, and I call that artificial. So then World War II started, and there was nothing I could do about it. No, that's why you're the president, because emergencies happen all the time. If FDR said, oh, the Great Depression happened and World War II happened, and that's why I didn't do anything. No, that's why you're supposed to do something. You're supposed to be in charge and lead us out of it instead of going, I call it artificial, and everything was going great. Well, your job isn't just to sit there like a lump on a log. Your job is to actually fix things when emergencies come up because you are the leader. Of course, he couldn't lead his way out of a wet paper bag, 6 bankruptcies, and the only person he cares about is Donald J. Trump. That's why he doesn't care about your lives. And that's why when you have an emergency like this, he goes, beep, 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 beep.
So there is a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of good news because of the fact that healthcare providers, doctors, nurses are a little more experienced in dealing with coronavirus cases. And the majority of new cases are among young people who are less likely to die from coronavirus. So even though we're seeing record numbers of new coronavirus cases, when you look at the number of deaths per day, they have dropped dramatically compared to what we experienced in mid-April. So deaths from the coronavirus in the United States are down to, by the way, this is still devastating, but about 600 deaths per day compared to 2,200 deaths in mid-April. So that is some evidence to indicate that it is younger people who are contracting this virus and spreading this virus because they're out and about, they're not staying home. And this is also kind of left out of the conversation. Many of them can't stay home because so many of these states have prematurely opened businesses back up. And if you're a young person who relies on that job, you have no choice but to go to work. And if you say, no, I don't feel comfortable going to work, I'm worried about this virus, I'm not going to do it, you are not going to qualify for unemployment insurance or any type of financial relief. So that's part of the equation that needs to be discussed as well. Also, while it is the official record that about 2.5 million Americans have contracted the virus, the truth is healthcare providers are saying, or healthcare experts, I should say, are saying that about 20 million Americans are infected with the virus. It's just that many people don't know. And many people can be asymptomatic while they go out there and continue to spread it. By the way, when it comes to prematurely opening businesses back up, the majority of Americans have been on the side of reason. A new ABC Ipsos poll showed that 56% of Americans believe that the country is opening back up too quickly with no vaccine and no cure available for COVID-19.
Okay, so I'm going to make a little bit of a morbid prediction here, and as almost always, I hope I'm wrong. So Trump did something similar, but he went in the opposite direction. He said when this came up, soon we'll have no cases. Then they brag, oh, well, if we only have 60,000 deaths, it's going to be great. If we have 80,000 deaths, great. 100, 120. Now it's at 125. They've blown past all of it. But I'm telling you right now, the fact that there's only 600 deaths per day in America from coronavirus is not going to hold. So yes, it is infecting younger people, as Anna pointed out. Older people die at greater rates. That's why even though we have record cases today, we don't have record deaths. But it's going to catch up because those folks, unfortunately, are going to spread it to older people. And remember, if you get it today, you don't die today. There's a process, and it takes some period of time. You go to the hospital and probably die about a couple of weeks later. This is super morbid, and I hope none of this happens. But likely, it'll take a little time, but they will infect some percentage of older people. They'll go to the hospital. So in about 2 to 4 weeks, my guess is we're going to start having record number of deaths. So already the number of deaths is terribly high. And I hate saying it because my parents are older, and every once in a while they ask me for an update. And I almost don't want to give it to them, but they can't leave their house because it's incredibly dangerous out there. And so in the beginning, guys, you say, hey, in March, are you sure you would have had the testing? New Zealand did, Germany and South Korea did, but maybe that's a tough standard, right? But we're now at near the end of June, and we still don't have contact tracing. This is gross negligence. And his excuse is, I find it artificial. So, I mean, can you imagine if Abe Lincoln said 77 years ago something artificial happened, and God, there's nothing I could do about it?
Well, let's talk about specific states and how they're handling the increase in new coronavirus cases. So, Despite the fact that Florida continues to be one of the states that's hardest hit with a surge in new coronavirus cases, turns out that Walt Disney World has no interest in postponing its reopening date. They still plan to reopen in July. So there are workers pushing back against this. Workers are pushing back, claiming that reopening puts public health at risk, as Florida has reported a record single-day increase in coronavirus cases 4 times in the past week, with back-to-back days of over 5,000 new cases on Wednesday and Thursday. So the Florida Department of Health reported that the state confirmed 8,942 new cases of coronavirus on June 25th, breaking a record set earlier this week. The Florida Health Department also reported a frightening rise in the rate of positive test results. On Thursday, 13.1% of test results came back positive, compared to 8.9% on Wednesday, confounding Donald Trump's recent assertions, repeated on Thursday, that, quote, if you did not do testing, you would not have cases. I mean, it's just the argument that, oh, no, we've been doing everything right. The only reason why we're seeing an uptick in cases is because we've improved testing. No, in multiple cases, health experts have shown that even with the same amount of testing, we're seeing an uptick, a significant increase in new coronavirus cases?
So, guys, unfortunately, more bad predictions now because we now have record number of cases, worse than we ever had, including in March and April. I think we will soon see record number of deaths because it takes a while for the deaths to catch up. I hope I'm wrong about that. But now, even with Texas and Florida saying, okay, we got to close the bars. I mean, it's literally the least they can do. But those are rabid right-wing governors, and they don't want to admit anything. And in fact, right now, the right wing is yelling at Abbott, who's a unreal right-winger, and they say, not enough, not enough. No, you won't drive us over the cliff as fast as we want to drive over the cliff. So another thing that's going to happen is they've got to relent because it's a record number of cases. So we're going to have to close the economy back down, which is brutal. Nobody wants that. Number one, we're all going crazy inside the houses. It's not a right-wing, left-wing thing, guys. Right-wing, you're not the only one who wants freedom. Yes, we want to be able to see our family and friends. We want to be able to travel. We want to be able to go to restaurants. We want to do all those things. And yes, when we reclose, what's going to happen to all the Disney workers? We care about that. And are they going to get fired? Are they not going to get fired? How are they going to pay the bills? We care about these things. But we care about their lives more. So we're not going to have a choice. Even the most right-wing governors don't have a choice. So brace for impact. There is no plan right now. The Republicans don't have a plan, and Trump certainly doesn't have a plan for when we shut this thing back down. It is going to be an epic disaster.
And just a few more, details about what's happening across the country, because while Disney World is still set to open in July, Disneyland in California, where there's also a significant surge in new coronavirus cases, has decided to postpone its reopening indefinitely. They were planning on reopening on July 17th. That is no longer the case. They have not given a specific date on reopening, which I think is the responsible thing to do. And Dr. Anthony Fauci said today that one of the problems, yes, is that some states opened prematurely, but then there are states like California, for instance, that took all the precautions, opened back up slowly, but people aren't taking the virus seriously anymore. They're not wearing masks when they go out, especially young people, and they're not really listening to or taking seriously the social distancing guidelines. And yes, you're right. In Texas, finally, Governor Greg Abbott has decided to shut down bars because of the virus spreading so quickly, but he has also decided to leave restaurants open. They'll remain open at 50% capacity, taking it down from 75% capacity. And he's also banned outdoor public gatherings of 100 people or more, which sounds like a pretty high number, to be honest with you. But, he went from refusing to shut anything down to bending just a little bit. And I think that is due to public pressure and the sheer numbers. For instance, on Thursday, Texas saw another record number of new cases, 5,996, as well as hospitalizations, 4,739. The hospitalization number set a record for the 14th straight day. So when you see all these people hospitalized and you see these hospitals completely overwhelmed with new coronavirus patients, you have no choice but to do the responsible thing. I just don't think that Greg Abbott has gone far enough.
Look, I hate what it's doing to small businesses and to all of us and to the entire economy. But just do three things, please. And it makes a massive difference. Mask, social distancing, and do not stay indoors with other people for a long time. The air conditioning and other things circulated in the air, that is totally proven. So I'm not as worried about the surfaces anymore. There's new information about that. There's new information on a lot of things. We thought maybe if you get it, you can get it again. It looks like that's not really the case. But if you do those three things, the mask, the social distancing, and not staying indoors too long with other people, you improve your chances of not getting it a lot. And then you can function in the world a little bit better, right? But if you're ignoring those things, you're inviting disaster for yourself and everyone you know.
When we come back from the break, we'll give you more news, including Donald Trump's absolutely disastrous town hall on Fox. And then in the post-game show today, we will share some video of young women testifying against wearing masks in Florida. You don't want to miss that video. It's awesome. You can become a member by going to tyt.com/join. We'll be right back.
Hello, TYT. This is Larry Pimentel, Fort Worth, Texas. TYT member since 2015. And I'd just like to thank you all for what you were doing, what you have done in the past. I discovered TYT back when you were part of Air America. My favorite program, by the way, is the post game. And I like it because you guys are unfiltered during that time. And I really enjoy sometimes the saltiness, especially Anna. My favorite host, though, is Jake. And Jake, you always make me laugh, even when you're angry. The thing that I like the best about the TYT community is the way you have each other's backs, even when you disagree. I really appreciate that.
Here we are at the donor wall again. As you guys know, this is my house, and put you up in my house, on my wall, which I look at about 10, 20 times a day. TYT wall, why does that look different than everything else? Because my daughter wrote that one. She's very proud though, okay? So, you know how to contribute, tyt.com/go. These wonderful, wonderful folks have given $1,000 or more, so we super appreciate it. And I want to thank you guys, and this is how we do it. Chris Williams, okay? He's on here. That's wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. And next up is Dick Epler. Thank you, guys. All right, so again, I try to imagine stories for every one of you guys that are on this wall that I look at so often. But if you can, write it in so I know. Like, oh yeah, Dick lives in St. Louis. I don't know that he does, okay? Anyway, if you want to see what the perks are that you get for either $1,000, well, one of them is this. But you also get a hoodie that says "We Press On," has an awesome logo. I love it. And only so many of you will ever have that hoodie, which is kind of cool. I have one too. But there's so many other perks, and that's tyt.com/presson, where you could find out those perks. So next up is Teresa Nestaby. Teresa, also awesome, on the wall of awesomeness. You are, in a sense, the watchers on the wall, keeping that light going in the darkness. Meg H. All right, one last thing, guys. So Anna and I today on the post game had this moment where we got a little despondent, right? But whenever I look up at this, I get hopeful again. I love you guys for it. tyt.com/go.
Hi, my name is Emma, and I live in a town called Orange in New South Wales, Australia. I've been a fan and viewer of the Young Turks since 2007, finding Jank on YouTube. At the time, I was following the Proposition 8 vote in California, which was my first insight into US politics. And after that, I was hooked. I continued to watch for many years, becoming a paying member in 2017. I find myself in a fortunate position, and COVID-19 has forced me to think about what really matters to me, and TYT is definitely a part of that. I decided to not only support this campaign with a monthly contribution, but also increase my membership to producer. I love welcoming Salty Anna and Fiery Jank into my home every day, and do not want to give it up or have it go away. So I've put my money where my heart is. I love this community and being a part of it, and people like me are proof that we are worldwide, and together we can change the world. So thank you to everyone, all the hosts, and everyone behind the scenes that goes into making TYT run, bringing you into my home so that I can learn and laugh with you. You are a brightness in my day, and I cannot wait to see where we go from here. I am TYT.
Back on the Young Turks, Jank and Anna with you guys. So just time for a couple of comments. In the member section, Bill Barrs, a sad Muppet, writes in, didn't Herbert Hoover not do anything about the Great Depression? I believe that was the reason why he lost. You are correct. Robert says, how do you like that for a Freudian slip on myself? Jank's Trump impersonation sounds more like a comic book guy on The Simpsons. Okay, fair enough. Gage Foley on YouTube Super Chat. I see you, brother. I'll look into Stone Child Chief Stick. I don't want to claim things on air that I haven't researched yet, but I will look into it, Gage. Thank you. And 00083 says, Jank, the system is totally broken. It can't fix itself. The whole thing needs to be torn down and rebuilt. Well, that's exactly why I decided that I agree with the slogan, defund the police. I talked about it on yesterday's show. Last one, WM Black writes in, first time, no, I'll read two more. WM Black says, first time watching live, and I'm stoked. Thank you for watching live. That makes a difference, and we appreciate it. Last one is Steve Pipp writing in, take my money and my love, TYT. All the haters in here can suck on this. All right, I love you for it. In fact, I'm looking at all your names as they're coming in at tyt.com/go, and you guys are amazing. Regia, thank you. And Al, you're getting a T-shirt, and Elizabeth, you're getting a T-shirt. Charles, Tom, Bojan, Linda, you guys are all the best. Let's see the thermometer real quick here. 136,177. Please, let's keep that going. See if we can make that 140 by tomorrow, if we can. Thank you, guys. tyt.com/go. We're on the air right now because of you. Thank you. All right, Anna.
All right. Well, Donald Trump is in full-blown re-election mode, so he decided to do a town hall with Sean Hannity on Fox News. And it was a disaster for anyone paying attention who actually cares about progress in this country, or, maybe doing something about coronavirus, or maybe having a leader who has priorities. This was not a good look for Donald Trump. Let's start with the first video where he was asked specifically what his priorities would be if he gets reelected.
What's at stake in this election as you compare and contrast, and what are your top priority items for a second term?
Well, one of the things that will be really great, the word experience is still good. I always say talent is more important than experience. I've always said that. But the word experience is a very important word. It's in a very important meaning. I never did this before. I never slept over in Washington. I was in Washington, I think, 17 times. All of a sudden, I'm president of the United States. You know the story. I'm riding down Pennsylvania Avenue with our First Lady, and I say, this is great. But I didn't know very many people in Washington. It wasn't my thing. I was from Manhattan, from New York. Now I know everybody. And I have great people in the administration. You make some mistakes, like, an idiot like Bolton, all he wanted to do is drop bombs on everybody. You don't have to drop bombs on everybody. You don't have to kill people.
What? I mean, that was what? So what are his priorities? That was not an answer. That was a nightmare. And he says he has great people in the administration, except the turnover in his administration has been insane. I mean, Bolton's gone. I mean, Esper's next. There's no question about that, because Esper had the audacity to cross him once when it came to the brutal force used against protesters in D.C. That was a non-answer. When people are dealing with an economy that isn't working for them, a pandemic that's killing their family members, that is not in any way a good answer.
Yeah, look, if you ask me what I want to do if I'm in office, I'd have an answer for you so quick. We got to get money out of politics. It's killing us. That's my number one priority. We got to get Medicare for all. We got to get Green New Deal. These are things. That's why I'm running. For God's sake, we got to get these things done. We got to pass the bills. That fool has never even thought about it. He's running for president again. Never given it 1 second of thought. What do you want to do? I'll tell you what he wants to do. He wants to be president again. He wants to beat the Democrats and brag. It's me, 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 me. Come on, you can see it. He didn't give a single answer. That was verbal diarrhea. I'll tell you what, you remember that great story where I was going down Pennsylvania Avenue and I said, this is great? That's not a story. And no, Jake, I don't remember that story.
If you were to give him truth serum, shout out to Ida Rodriguez's awesome podcast, and ask him, what are your true priorities if you get reelected? How do you plan on using the executive branch to enrich yourself financially? He's thought about that. There's no question he's thought about that, because that's all he thinks about.
That's such a great point, Anna. If you told him, okay, be honest, give me your 3 top priorities if you're elected president,
he'd probably think, what am I going to get out of Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Russia, etc.? What buildings am I going to build afterwards, etc.? Well, how about the American people? American people. And now whenever I see him, I can't get Sarah Cooper out of my head. If you've seen her on Twitter or TikTok, she does those great impersonations of him. And so now when I'm listening to him, I'm seeing her going, I remember this great story. Well, I was going down Pennsylvania Avenue, and then I said, this is great. And now I know a lot of people. I've always said that talent was the most important, but now I think experience is also important. What is that? What is that? That's I don't know if he ever had any mental acuity to begin with, but whatever he's had, if he ever had any, it's gone, long gone.
Well, one of the many things he does not prioritize is doing something about coronavirus. We've obviously seen that firsthand, especially lately. And so he was asked about coronavirus, and here's what he had to say.
So we have more cases because we do the greatest testing. If we didn't do testing, we'd have no cases. Other countries, they don't test millions. So up to almost 30 million tests. So when you do 30 million, you're going to have a kid with the sniffles, and they'll say it's coronavirus, whatever you want to call it. I said the other night, there are so many names to this. I could name 19 names, like Corona 19, but I could name 19 names.
I got to say, no. One of the 19 names is not Corona 19. It's COVID-19 or coronavirus. No one calls it Corona 19. He's such an idiot. And who cares how many names it has? Why is that relevant to the story? It has so many names. And no, but most importantly, you would still have coronavirus if you didn't test anyone. There's, at this point, the latest number I just saw right before, as we were going live, 127,000 dead in America. If you didn't test a single person, those 127,000 would still be dead from coronavirus. What he's saying is, I don't care if they die. I just don't want you to call it coronavirus because I don't want to be blamed for it. You are a pathetic excuse for a human being, let alone a leader.
So, Cenk, it's actually worse than that, right? Because this is something that I've been seeing, honestly, spreading the most on Facebook. And a loved one actually made this statement to me, and I realized how much of that kind of information is really seeping into the public's consciousness. What he's doing there is trying to make people question the validity of the coronavirus confirmations or cases, right? So the person in my life who came to me was like, oh, I heard that hospitals are being pressured to refer to all of these illnesses as coronavirus, when in reality, it's not coronavirus, just to inflate the numbers. And so that's what he's doing there when he's like, you got a kid and he's got the sniffles and they say coronavirus. No, that's not how it works. People get these giant cotton swabs jammed up their noses, and a test is done, an actual COVID-19 test is done to determine whether that individual has COVID-19 or maybe something else, right? But he's spreading this conspiracy theory that the numbers are artificially inflated by conflating whatever illness with coronavirus.
Yeah, and the other day he said, COVID-19, nobody knows why it's called that. Yes, we do. It's because it was discovered in 2019. You're a moron. Is one more video, Anna?
Yeah, so here he is on Joe Biden.
Here's a guy who doesn't talk. Nobody hears him. Whenever he does talk, he can't put two sentences together. I don't want to be nice or unnice, okay? But, I mean, the man can't speak. And he's going to be your president because some people don't love me, maybe. And, all I'm doing is doing my job.
He's going to be president? Is that what you just said? He just admitted that he thinks Biden is going to be president. And then he says, he can't speak. He can't speak. By the way, he's going to be president. By the way, oops, I can't speak. At best, that was a buffoonish mistake, thereby vitiating your earlier point about Biden not being able to speak. But in reality, it was more likely the only honest thing he said. Biden's going to be president, and he knows it. I wonder if he's humiliated enough to quit before the race. All right, we've got actually more videos in the post game, including these Karens. You will not believe they're record-breaking. in their stupidity. And one more insane clip from Donald Trump. tyt.com/join or hit the join button below if you're watching live on YouTube. We'll be right back for the members.
You know, old school's pitched to me from Jank. It'll just be me, you, Jesus, Ben, and maybe Michael. And we're like, okay, cool. I can do that every week. As you can see, me, Jesus, Ben.
When you make the order, it says, don't exceed $20.01. So I'll just order literally anything to get it as close to that as I possibly can.
I'm sorry that I ordered $45 worth of food and got an email saying, sir, would you like to rethink that? And what are you talking about?
I was in hell. I was just like, oh my God, the theater's empty, nobody's here. Everyone on screen keeps f***ing cursing. Why did I let this happen? And the whole thing looks like it was shot through a glass of milk. My mom's gonna be so mad.
If you're looking for a heart attack, the short way, baby.
Wrong. I did put mayonnaise on it. I'm the most in shape, overweight person you'll find.
That's right.
He was like, why didn't you answer my call? I called you 39 times.
Yuck.
But what makes you stop right before 40? You know, what makes you say, nah, man, I ain't doing that no more. I'm cool.
And I called you back on the air. And I was like, okay, Kevin Smith, big shot. What the f***? You said you'd come on and you didn't come on.
I'm sure I took that very well.
Yeah, you did. You called me back the next day and said, I thought it was 7 a.m. There's now deep fake porn. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
I heard of it. I just had some in the car.
I'll tell you who I'm not f***ing, Ben Mankiewicz. Have you guys ever felt that?
Not ever.
And now it's just the three of us.
This is the intimate hour.
By the way, the last half hour of this, we're not even rolling.
Fair enough.
Kingsley.
See, I watch movies.
I'm done with both of you. Okay?
Once Greg starts laughing, I can't stop. And I was just gonna ask you about getting high.
Snoogans, Snoochie Boochies.
And members, of course, you can get the whole damn thing. tyt.com join and free trial. I'm old school with the old folks.
Goodbye.
John, come back.
Electric cars are awesome, but they aren't the best tool for every job. You can't park them on the edge of the sidewalk while you run into the store for a few things. On top of that, an electric car is just financially out of reach for many people. That's where Zoom electric scooters come in. When I say electric scooter, I'm talking about small motorcycles with space in front of you to put your feet. The Zoom scooter has a range of 60 miles, offers a smooth ride up to 40 miles per hour, and can be charged from any electrical outlet. Start saving on gas while reducing your carbon footprint. To find out more, go to tyt.com/Zoom. Enter the code TYT50 to get an additional
I know
discount.
the progressive base, and I know the establishment. We're gonna go to war.
There is some good news, especially for progressives. Joining us now is Andrew Romanoff, who is running for the U.S. Senate seat in Colorado.
The most important thing we can do is flip the Senate from paralysis to progress. And the only way to do that is to make sure that we elect Democrats with the courage of our convictions, who are willing to fight for the progressive priorities we share.
Do democracy. Vote.
You got it. Use it.
Vote. Demand democracy. Advocate for criminal, social, and environmental justice for all.
Engage in democracy. Run for office.
You can be mayor, governor, president. Just run.
Democracy is powered by people like you and me.
Vote. Advocate. Engage. Visit naacp.org or text DEMAND to 40649 for more information.
I know what you're thinking. Cenk, where do I get unlimited, commission-free stock and ETF trades? Man, do I have good news for you. Doe.com/TYT. Yes, it's really unlimited trading. Yes, it's totally commission-free. Yes, they explain what an ETF is if you don't know it. But that's what's great about Doe, because they have wonderful explainer videos, and you got zero minimum balance. You got nothing for commissions. Doe.com/TYT. All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk and Anna with you guys. We've got plenty of stories for you.
all. But I want to read some names now. Now that I got access to all the names coming in live to tyt.com/go, I love it. I can't stop talking about it and looking at it. So I'm just going to read out the names of the folks getting T-shirts for now. So, and just the first names. Noel, you get a T-shirt. Ellen, you get the super cool We Press On T-shirt with the TYT mic on it. Ronald, you get one. Tori, you get one. Ronald again, thank you, brother. And Freeman. And those are just the last ones that I'm seeing in front of me. I can go on and on. You guys are the best. We love you. And so also you're all members right now. So make sure that if you are going to get something from the shop, today's definitely the day to do it because it's 30% off site-wide. So go to tyt.com/notice to get the code or whatever it is that happens on that page. I looked at it the other day, and of course I immediately forgot. But you go to tyt.com/notice, and from there, I think that if you click the link and you go, you get 30% off site-wide because you're a member. And check out the masks, check out the books, and the T-shirts. So, all right, you guys are awesome. Check that out. Okay, Casper, go.
Just a quick note. I know we have stories to do, but I just have to note that there's this woman named Deanna Lorraine. I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with her. I think she's trying to primary Pelosi, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, she's insane. And so she's like, I'm amazed at how many public figures feel comfortable saying things that are batshit crazy. No, like there's no way she believes the thing she says. And she's totally fine pandering to like the lowest common denominator in this country and making herself look like a fool. She replied to one of AOC's tweets where AOC said, K-pop allies, we see and appreciate your contributions in this fight for justice too. And I'm guessing that AOC was referring to the K-pop fans who bought or reserved tickets to Trump's Tulsa rally and then didn't show up. And in response to that, here's what Deanna Lorraine said. Is AOC openly admitting that she solicited help from North Korea and South Korean internet trolls to sabotage President Trump's rally tonight? Should she be investigated for foreign collusion? How did you make it through life? Like, how do people like this make it through life? I don't know. Anyway, just wanted to share that vent.
I'm going to reserve my thoughts on that until we hit the Karen story because there's a depressing percentage of people who are crazy. Anyway, I'll save that commentary for a second. If she was primarying Pelosi, she no longer is because California, as I certainly know, already had the primaries. And Pelosi obviously advanced, but so did Shad Buttar. So we did a series on him. Make sure you check him out. So it's two Democrats in the general election in November in Pelosi's district. It's Pelosi versus Shahid Buttar, who's very progressive and a million times better than Nancy Pelosi. So check him out.
All right. With that said, we can now move on to someone who thinks they're a perfect person. All right. So Donald Trump appeared on a town hall on Fox News. It was hosted by Sean Hannity. And during the town hall, Trump felt that, maybe humility isn't something that he should ever explore or discover. He referred to himself as perfect. Take a look.
I think I am a friend of mine said, you have to be the most perfect person.
They had everybody.
Isn't that true?
We'll take a.
No one's ever said that to him. No one. A, he has no friends. B, if he did have friends don't talk to you that way. Like, no one on this planet who's in a healthy state of mind thinks anyone's perfect. That doesn't exist. Like, no one goes around telling anyone they're perfect. Like, that's insane. That's what he thinks. He thinks he's perfect. But in reality, he doesn't even think he's perfect. This is like the cute little story Trump tells himself to try to quiet out his insecurities and the fact that he has to deal with the reality that he's a terrible human being. He knows it. His father told him all the time. And those voices are constantly in his head. So he's like, no, I'm perfect. No, I'm not a baby. No, I'm not sad. No, I am a success. I'm a perfect person. No, you're terrible. The worst president in U.S. history. And we've had some pretty terrible presidents.
Yeah, Harding got caught having sex in a closet. How do we go back to those days? Like,
dude, don't care. I don't care if he does it on a boat. I don't care if he does it on a goat. None of my business, does not matter, okay? How is someone's sex life going to negatively impact me? It doesn't. Donald Trump's actions have hurt so many people in this country.
Yeah, Harding was a mess otherwise as well. Please, let's go back to Harding. Okay, not a compliment of Harding, just that's how bad Trump is. All right, look, guys. So first of all, I thought even for Trump, this is beyond mental. No, nobody calls themselves a perfect person. So I wanted to make sure that I saw the rest of the clip where if he's going to give a context, he gives a context, right? How? Or is there an expectation that you're a perfect person? What do you mean? No, they went to the commercial break. You saw the whole thing. And in fact, Brandon, cue it back up because if you notice, even Sean Hannity was like, "Oi," with the eyes. Like he couldn't, even Sean Hannity couldn't help it. But the crowd, on the other hand, was like, "Oh yeah, perfect person. Yeah, of course. That this is what a cult looks like." So I'm gonna get back into what would happen if somebody called me perfect, which is hilarious. But first, I want to watch it again. Do we have it ready to go?
I think I am probably, a friend of mine said, you have to be the most perfect person.
They had everybody.
Isn't that true?
We'll take a.
He's like, he made Sean Hannity uncomfortable. Okay. If Ben called me and said, you have, Cenk, there it is. There's no question.
Good catch, Cenk.
Oh man, it's like wow.
Oh, I wish he hadn't said that.
Yeah, wow. If Ben called me or any of my other friends and said, Cenk, you have to be the most perfect person, I'd be like, okay, where's the punchline? Like the most perfect at being overweight, like something. Like no friend calls you and says, oh, by the way, I'd just like to tell you, you're the most perfect person. That's not a thing. And if it was, you'd like, are you okay? Are you okay? And let's say that for whatever reason, so somebody did something wonderful and you just got carried away. You called someone called me the most perfect person. I would not come out here and say, hey, Anna, the other day, a friend called me and he said, I'm the most perfect person.
I don't believe you. You're a liar.
No.
You're a liar. You would totally brag about it. You would brag about it all day. Now, it would be like tongue in cheek, but you would totally brag about it. 100%. 100%.
First of all, stone cold busted. Of course I would. Okay. But it would be tongue in cheek. I know that. Of course, that's absurd. Every non-mental person knows that's absurd. But he doesn't even know. Our president is a literal lunatic.
Yep. Well, lunatics unfortunately have some influence and power in this country, and nothing makes that clearer than the next story that we're about to share with you. So let's talk about the Senate race in Alabama. So there is a Republican primary for a Senate seat in Alabama, and the two Republicans in that race that actually matter are Tommy Tuberville and Jeff Sessions. Now, this is actually a seat that was held by Jeff Sessions, but he vacated the seat in order to go work for Donald Trump. Now, of course, that didn't end up so well because Sessions recused himself from the Russia investigation. Trump threw a childish temper tantrum as a result of that. And now Donald Trump absolutely hates him and is constantly attacking him. Now, Tuberville has exploited that and has basically taken the mantle as the #1 Trump loyalist. And nothing makes that clearer than the Tuberville ad against Sessions that you're about to see. Take a look.
You can't fake it. You're either strong or you're not. And Jeff Sessions, he's not. He wasn't man enough to stand with President Trump when things got tough, and now he's telling lies about me to cover it all up. It's time for these weak politicians to go. I'm very proud to be endorsed by President Trump. I'm running to help them drain the swamp and build the wall. I'm Tommy Tuberville, and I approve this message because I won't back down.
Look, the truth is both of these guys are terrible, but the one thing that Jeff Sessions did do right was recuse himself. That was the ethical thing to do, and he paid a price for that. Tuberville, on the other hand, is like the exact type of person who would embolden dictatorship in a country. Like, he would be like total, oh, yes, yeah, that's right, Donald Trump, you do not have an anus. That's right, Donald Trump, you do not poo. That's right, Donald Trump, you do bowl perfectly. I'm referencing, what Kim Jong-il and all of his supporters would allege. But that's like nonsense loyalty to the president, which it's supposed to be against everything that conservatives claim they represent. They're supposed to be against tyranny. They're supposed to be against, all of this governmental power. But Tuberville's whole campaign has been, oh yeah, I kiss Donald Trump's ass more. No one kisses Donald Trump's ass more than me. I believe in unlimited government power. I'm strong and everyone else is weak. No, you're incredibly lame. But unfortunately, the people of Alabama seem to love that kind of rhetoric because he is leading in the race by 23 points.
No, he was. It's down to 6 points. I actually have a fun prediction about that. Oh, okay. So, first of all, I love everything about this ad. He's like, I'm strong. That's why you're seeing other people work out. Yeah, there's squats and they're out working out. I don't see you doing anything. Okay. And so then, and then the great irony is, he couldn't, stand with the president when it counted. When the president was accused of breaking the law and the attorney general was also accused of breaking the law. And so he had to follow the law and recusing himself so that someone without a conflict of interest would judge whether they broke the law, right? You were weak. You stood up for the law. A strong person would break the law to help the president. That's why I have really strong lips. And then finally, this is the Southern strategy coming to a conclusion. So if you don't know, that's the strategy they came up with during the Nixon years when Lyndon Johnson got the Democratic Party to pass the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. Some hard right-wingers like Pat Buchanan convinced Richard Nixon. The Democrats used to own the South, the Dixiecrats, right? So now we could come in, and since they actually helped African Americans,
mandate somebody to wear a mask knowing that mask is killing people.
Okay, so that obviously a video played over there. So let me just pick that thought up where I had it. So this, if you don't know, the Southern strategy is when Richard Nixon and his acolytes said, since Johnson and the Democrats passed the Civil Rights Act, let's go get racist votes in the South to flip for us. And it kept getting worse and worse until we got to Donald Trump. And here is Tommy Tuberville with, by the way, one of the funnier names in politics. He's doing television now, so I guess he's at Tuberville. Okay, anyway, so that's a bit of a stretch. But so here's Tommy Tuberville saying about Jeff Sessions. So if before Trump, you told me who are the two most right-wing and racist senators in the country, I would have said James Inhofe and Jeff Sessions. And now Sessions is not hateful, right-wing, and racist enough. And Tommy Tuberville is saying, now I promise, I'll stand with the president. When any law he breaks, any minority that he insults, I'm with him. Jeff Sessions, just not racist enough. Amazing. So that's where the Republican Party is today. And I think that they're near their end. I know right now everybody thinks, oh, Teflon Don, and they're ascendant, and oh my God, these racist white right-wingers are going to rule us forever. Nonsense. It's the last gasp of the angry white man. They're almost done. They're running on fumes. So the fun prediction is, I think, and this is bold because the election is right around the corner, but I think Sessions is going to win. I think that Trump is losing so much popularity so quickly, everywhere that Tuberville is going to lose that 23-point lead and he's going to lose the election. And people are going to go, you know what? Let's just go back to the way things were. Sessions was plenty right-wing enough, plenty vicious enough. Let's go back to Sessions. We'll see if I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, you are right about where Tuberville currently stands up against Jeff Sessions. So the 23-point lead that I was referring to was actually from a poll in mid-May, but a survey conducted on behalf of the Sessions campaign shows the former U.S. Attorney General trailing the former Auburn football coach 43 to 49%. In a ballot test among likely Republican voters. 8% of voters remain undecided, the survey showed. So, yeah, I mean, it's not impossible. He did close a pretty significant lead or significant gap there. All right, well, let's...
yeah, Trump and his allies bleeding out in the polls in Alabama. He's delicious. In a world of trouble. World of trouble.
Well, Florida's in a world of trouble, which means the rest of the country is in a world of trouble when it comes to COVID-19. Now, one of the ways that coronavirus can slow, or one of the ways we can slow the spread for coronavirus. Let me start that again. Mess that up. One of the ways we can slow the spread of coronavirus is by wearing masks when we're out in public. But unfortunately, the Karens of Palm Beach County, Florida, think that wearing masks is one of the worst things that you can ask people to do. I don't want to make their arguments for them. I don't want to put words in their mouths. I just want to show you this agonizing video.
You literally cannot mandate somebody to wear a mask knowing that that mask is killing people. It literally is killing people. And we the people, are waking up, and we know what citizen's arrest is, because citizen's arrests are already happening. Okay? And every single one of you that are obeying the devil's laws are going to be arrested. And you, doctor, are going to be arrested for crimes against humanity.
The problem with humanity today is ignorance, arrogance, and apathy. Keep taking the road of least resistance. Keep listening to the TV brainwashing you from birth.
And they want to throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door. You're all turning your backs on it.
Doctor, I really have many question marks about your degrees and what you really know. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't think that you are worthy of your credentials. And I would ask suggestively that you go back to school and get educated.
Ma'am. Okay. I don't really know how to handle this kind of stuff, because everything feels like it's caving in. The nonstop devastating news, all the millions of things to worry about. And I've just gotten to a point, Cenk, where I'm exhausted, right? I'm tired of trying to reason with unreasonable people. And at this point, I feel like in this country specifically, it's every man for themselves. It's, hey, you know what? The best that you can do is make sure that you're fully informed about what's going on and protect yourself, be compassionate enough to do what it takes to prevent spreading it in case you might have coronavirus. But I'm so tired of being fearful about things because Americans don't take this virus seriously. Like, what are we going to do? So at this point, I mean, that woman wants to cite God's wonderful breathing system. Okay, great. Go lick a pole somewhere. I don't care at this point. I'm just tired of it. Like, and it's not that I don't care because I don't care about people getting hurt or getting this virus. It's just that there's no reasoning with them. So what do?
And did you just tell her to lick God's pole?
No, I did not say God's pole.
Okay, I don't know. Anyway, so look, guys, I don't think this story is about coronavirus. I think this story is actually more depressing than that. There's a significant percentage. When I say significant, it's not 2, it's not 5. I don't know if it's 25%. I don't know if it's 10, 15, but it's a monster number of people on the planet, not just Americans. Americans are not unique, okay? You go to any country, it doesn't name it. It doesn't matter, you name it. South Korea, Botswana, America, Paraguay, it doesn't matter. Let's call it a quarter, because I really think it might be that high, but at least 10%. Insane. Totally insane. Believe that people are following devil's laws, there is no devil, let alone the laws that it has, let alone people following the laws of a non-existent creature who walks around on hooves and has a tail. It's not a look. When we get into religion, I know that's a bigger number, right? But people who believe things like, oh, obviously Beelzebub wants us to wear a mask and God doesn't, and so I'm going to do a citizen's arrest on any doctor who I think is in cahoots with Shaitan, right? Like it's super
Crimes
scary.
against humanity, Cenk. Crimes against humanity. Is she not going to do a citizen's arrest of someone who's committing a crime against humanity, like asking someone to wear a mask to, prevent the spread of a deadly virus?
Of course you would say this, Hannah. I just realized what happened. Your husband was a professional baseball player who was what? A catcher who wears what? A mask. Boom. Devil's law caught you. Okay.
If the devil existed, would the devil have rules and laws? I mean, wouldn't the devil not believe in any rules or laws? Like, wouldn't the devil be bad? Like,
very bad.
Anyway.
Okay.
Bad devil.
But seriously, guys, look, I don't mean to depress you too much, but I had a friend this kind of happened to. We lost her. She just started spiraling out of control with conspiracy theories until she was like doodling, imaginary things, and it's just so sad. But they function in the world. They're not locked up in a hospital or anything like that, right? And so there's this giant percentage of people who, if you're uncomfortable with the word insane, whatever, fill in the blank, like irrational to the point where you cannot function with them. You can't have a normal conversation. They don't live in the logic-based world. 2 + 2 = 13. And if you don't believe it, they're going to do a citizen's arrest against you because you're obviously working with the Prince of Darkness. And so, they live all among us, everywhere. They might be in your family. It's not based on race, ethnicity, etc. Their brains just don't work based on logic, and so they believe in totally insane things. And there's tons and tons of them. And now when you apply it to coronavirus, yeah, of course a giant percentage of people are going to think, well, if you put a mask on, obviously you're going to get sick. No, the way to not get coronavirus is to make out with everybody. Oh, okay. I mean, how do you answer that? How do you argue with someone who thinks that 2 + 2 = 13? There's no way of even arguing. So you just have to shake your head and go, okay, I guess a certain giant percentage of people are totally nuts.
Definitely. I mean, look, I think at this point, we're just going to be in our homes for much longer than we thought. Because their actions are needlessly extending the period of time that things need to be shut down. And I mean, look, they're in Florida. So Florida is defiant. They don't really care, and businesses remain open. Some businesses have taken, they've taken it upon themselves to decide to shut down because they understand the gravity of what's going on. But at this point, I mean, again, it goes back to there's nothing we can do about these people. They're going to believe what they believe. They, suck in all of that misinformation and all the conspiracy theories from whatever they read online. And so we just have to look out for ourselves and for our loved ones. And for me personally, the most frustrating part about what's happening is that misinformation, like my family members aren't immune to the misinformation. So I have to do this stressful job in explaining what's going on in the world. And then on top of that, try to persuade people who I love and care about to take this virus seriously. I mean, it's really bad.
This is a story from the past. So my dad's past this. But look, you have to remember, too, put aside the people who are irrational. My dad's perfectly rational. But a lot of folks just don't know how the internet works, and it's not their fault, and they're not accustomed to it, et cetera. My dad grew up with no electricity, let alone a radio, let alone a TV, let alone a computer and the internet. So when he was first on Facebook, he was like, wow, it's amazing how much people care about Turkish news. Because he didn't realize that Facebook makes it your front page personal to you, your newsfeed personal to you. He thought the whole world was obsessed with Turkish news because that's what he was seeing. So, and we had to and that's, so you have to tell a lot of people just because you see it on Facebook doesn't mean it's real. you have to look at the source. And tons of people, not just we talked about the lunatic fringe, which is more than a fringe, it's big. I'm not talking about that in this case. There's then an even bigger subset of people who just don't know that you're supposed to look for a source and verify it and not just believe it because you saw it with your eyes. And by the way, one of those people that's in both of those subsets is the President of the United States. He has no idea what's real or not real. He's a massive conspiracy theorist and not nearly bright enough to be able to tell the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth. And so, and how many of us are in that category that we elected him our leader, our president? So it's even more depressing than you realize.
All right, I want to just quickly do one more story that we didn't get to in the main show today, and it has to do with, Trump's curious decision to go after the Affordable Care Act, especially in this moment in time. So the Trump administration is still attempting to repeal the Affordable Care Act. And the way that they're doing it is by taking this case to the Supreme Court, which makes me worry because while the Supreme Court has ruled the right way on a few issues recently, when it comes to corporate power, when it comes to private insurers, it's much more likely that the conservative judges are going to side with the Trump administration. Now, that's my prediction, but we'll see how this plays out. The Supreme Court is likely to hear this case in the fall. Now, what is the Trump administration alleging in this case? Well, in a filing with the U.S. Supreme Court, the Trump administration argued that the Affordable Care Act in its entirety is illegal because Congress eliminated the individual tax penalty for failing to purchase medical insurance. Now, that was the government mandate that was effectively repealed. Now, Solicitor General Noel Francisco, the government's chief advocate before the Supreme Court, said in a brief that the other provisions of Obamacare are impossible to separate from the individual mandate and that, quote, it necessarily follows that the rest of the ACA must also fall. So again, I'm genuinely worried about how the Supreme Court will rule on this. I think it's unbelievably cruel and callous to continue pushing for the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, knowing full well that so many Americans have lost their employer-provided health insurance because of this pandemic and because of layoffs. And since the pandemic began, 500,000 Americans who lost their jobs and their health insurance as a result of losing their jobs have relied on Obamacare to get health care coverage. If they are successful in repealing the Affordable Care Act, it is going to be a complete nightmare for so many Americans, including people who have tested positive for COVID-19, which can be considered a pre-existing condition if the bill is, or I should say the law is actually repealed. Then healthcare providers can go ahead and deny you if you have a so-called pre-existing condition.
In the middle of the biggest pandemic of our lifetimes, they would throw over 20 million people off of their health insurance. It's so callous, so insane. So, okay, then Dana Perino goes on Fox News. Of course, she used to work for Bush as a Republican. And she says, I don't know why the Trump administration is insisting on this in the middle of this pandemic. It's not good politics. First of all, also not good for humanity and people staying alive. But wait a minute. Why don't you think it's good politics? I thought all of you Republicans hated the Affordable Care Act and said we would be healthier without it. Well, you know that's not true. That's why you're saying it. You know that it would kick 20 million people off of health insurance. And one of the other things that the Trump administration is arguing for in court is to get rid of coverage for pre-existing conditions. So when Trump and other Republicans say, oh, no, we would protect people with pre-existing conditions, it is an unmitigated lie. They're in court legally arguing that they should kill that provision. So, and by the way, every reporter in the country that ever covers that story should say Trump and all the Republican senators are lying. They are in favor of a law that would get rid of coverage for pre-existing conditions. So that's just a fact. It's not a debate. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. So there they are, and they want to get rid of it. The Affordable Care Act has its issues. It left the insurance companies in charge, and they've increased our premiums ever since, just like We told you. And so the progressive position was clearly a better one. In the midst of this pandemic, people are wondering, oh my God, am I going to be covered if I get COVID-19? You should be worried if you're going to be covered if you get any disease, or if it's going to bankrupt you, or if you're going to die. That's why we should have Medicare for all. But does that mean I would take away Affordable Care Act and take away insurance from all those people in the middle of this pandemic? Of course not. What kind of monster would do that? Correct answer, not just Donald Trump. Every elected Republican in the country agrees with that. So, or if you don't believe me, ask them. Maybe you'll find 2 or 3. But at the national level, every single one of them says, take away that insurance from tens of millions of Americans and make sure they're not covered for pre-existing conditions.
All right, that's what we have for you guys today. Have an awesome weekend. Cenk, any final words before we go?
No.
All right, great. I'm ready to start my weekend, although I work on Saturdays now, so check out my show with Michael Brooks on Jacobin. We do it on YouTube. It's live at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, every Saturday. So.
All right. By the way, okay, all kidding aside, you know what I'm going to, now that you said that, you know what I'm doing this weekend? I'm making donor calls for Andrew Romanoff. So please, here, I'll start now. Make sure that you're volunteering and donating to Andrew Romanoff in Colorado. If he beats Hickenlooper, it's an earthquake. And he's closing. He closed 40 points already. He's got about 10 to go. He was in a big hole. He's former Speaker of the House in Colorado. Very legitimate politician and very progressive. Hickenlooper is the worst Senate candidate we have. McGrath and him would have had a real good runoff. Anyway, and I'm going to talk to some other candidates behind the scenes and try to help in every way that I can. So if you can, just take a minute, 5 minutes to help a progressive candidate. It makes a huge difference. All right. We love you guys. We'll see you Monday.
the happy half hour. Nando Vila in the program today. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Brett. I'm wearing my robe formal.
That's a robe formal?
That's
Look,
my robe formal. Yeah,
Nando and I have achieved our final form because the world's on fire, and if you can't wear a robe to just feel comfortable and feel like yourself, me personally, I'm wearing my wife's kimono style polyester fake silk robe, and I don't care.
No, I'm wearing a robe that I stole from the Ritz-Carlton. And I don't care. I don't care if they come and get me after this show airs. You know, they can come get me, Ritz-Carlton.
We had tracked down all the robes but one.
Like a black bag goes over my head in the middle of this podcast. You'll fly out of here.
It'd be amazing. So what are you drinking, Nando?
I got a blood orange Negroni over here.
Good for you. What's your recipe for that?
It's 1 ounce. You get one of these things. You do 1 ounce Campari, which is right here. You do 1 ounce the red vermouth, and then you do 1 ounce gin. And I'm using this Grey Whale gin, which is very good.
Good for you.
It's fancy stuff. Brett.
Never seen that before, but I'm into it. I bought my best purchase was like a bunch of decanters.
But the important thing is the dried blood orange.
Good for you. That's a dried blood orange?
Look at this thing.
God, you're so classy.
I know. I'm European, Brett. I'm not like, come on.
Yeah. The Europe is shining through. I'm drinking a red wine I found in my wine fridge that I bought after getting a job once.
Hell yeah.
But it feels really good. It's a Malbec Zaccardi Serie A.
Is it like a Argentine or something?
I think so. It's Serie A. So
Serie A.
Valle de Uco, Mendoza.
Oh, that's Argentina. I've been there.
Me too.
Mendoza. Argentina, boludo.
Boludo. Boludo. Che. Esta para vos.
You're pretty good at it. Your Argentine accent is pretty good.
Dude, I went to Argentina once. The catchphrases coming back are, "Ay, mi Brett," and don't want to explain it, but also there was a guy who had a shirt on that was just said "Esta es para vos," which is just like, this is for you. And I think it was like "suck it," like implications. We have a lot going on in the world, and I want to check in with Nando and find out what he's doing to stay safe and stay sane. Nando, how is the quarantine treating you, sir?
The quarantine is treating me okay. At first, I was going crazy, but then I decided to start my own Entourage rewatch podcast. That it actually is the most soothing thing. Rewatching Entourage is the most soothing thing in the quarantine because it's such a time capsule to a simpler era, where it's just about getting chicks, getting money. Nothing else matters.
Yeah, nothing matters. Everyone's life was totally perfect. Yeah. It was definitely the Entourage as a show was a set 'em up, knock 'em down show.
Oh yeah,
where it was
the
like
problems don't last too long.
Tiniest problems and get rid of them because that's why we're here. It's not. And I always got mad at Entourage when it was like, Vinny should have some kind of crisis. I was like, I'm not there for that.
No, they tried to give him a crisis in the later seasons when he had like a drug addiction, and it was just the worst thing ever. No, yeah, most of it's just like, there's a problem. Is he gonna get the role? Is he gonna get the movie? Is he gonna get the thing? And then it's like, hey guys, don't worry about it. My name's Vinny Chase. Don't worry about it. Let's go to Vegas. And then he gets the role.
That's amazing. What's the name of your podcast and how can people watch it?
Let's Pot It Out. You can listen to it in your ears. It's Let's Pot It Out in Entourage.
Very ears.
And you can. And you can get it on iTunes and on wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, whatever.
Emma Vigland is a guest. I think by the time this comes out, or if it hasn't already, she's probably. Emma Vigland slated to be on the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, TYT.
Why did you choose to do an Entourage podcast?
Well, because I think that for a male of a certain age, and I think you and I are both males of the same age.
Yeah.
Entourage is kind of such a foundational text for our culture that we grew up in, you know? And watching the show with the eyes of 2020, there's no better way to understand just how much things have changed in the last 15, 20 years or whatever. And it's worth revisiting it. It's worth revisiting that time, you know? Like, it was how we grew up.
I worked at a talent agency while Entourage was on the air.
Oh my! I can only imagine.
Josh Weinstein is based partially on Josh Katz, who I worked with, and a ton of other Joshes. I'm a Semite, so I can say it. There's a lot of Joshes who are agents in
just
Hollywood.
joshing around.
many Joshes, but all of that's accurate. All of it is utterly accurate. That is exactly what it was like. I worked at a talent agency, which now represents TYT. Our agent is my old boss, and I now have like meetings with him to develop pitches and stuff. But I remember people who've long gone from that, who would show up, and and also one of the agents at that agency is from I don't know if you saw Adaptation.
Yeah.
Ron Livingston's character, who's like, you see that girl, in the
Yeah.
That guy is based on Marty Bowen, who I worked. I helped one of the guys who was his assistant. One time, that guy was just like, I need you to go and here's $1,500. Go take my credit card and spend $1,500 on 3 identical pairs of sunglasses. And then go next door to a bookstore and buy a book called Perception is Reality. Like
some like bullshit.
Like
self-help text. Yeah.
Self-help text that also underscores that exact feeling of the era, which is just every single person in the entertainment industry, all the guys. It was such a frat experience. I used to have dudes show up, and my boss, this guy Marty, would come up behind my boss's desk with a baseball bat and take full cuts as hard as he could. Guys, the other agents would take like stress balls and golf clubs and hit the stress balls at a bank of desks.
Oh my god!
Just to mess with people. People would have nervous breakdowns in bathrooms all the time.
Well, it's funny because like when I watched the show when it came out, I was just in college or whatever, and I had no experience in the world. And now watching it as a sort of, entertainment industry, more or less know what's going on, live in LA, have worked with all these people. I'm like, man, it actually is like insanely accurate. Like for example, like the Adam Davies character, his little finger, like when he's like he's on the phone, like when it's saying he just gives you the finger, like give me 1 second, and it's just every little thing, they nail everything about the industry. The problem is that just like the main guys, like most of them, like Vinny Chase, he cannot act. Poor guy.
That's the central like problem with the show is their best actor, like this.
He's like supposed to be really good too. Like, and they're like, man, he's a great actor. I love him. And it's like, no, that's like the least believable thing of all time.
All right, so everybody watch or listen to in your earballs. Let's pot it out. And we got a lot more show. We'll get to it after this break. Welcome back, everyone, to the Happy Half Hour. We got to get into this next story, which I think happened in my hometown of Simi Valley, California, also the home of the Reagan Library, also the home of the Rodney King trial. And it's also the home of the latest Karen who's making some waves on Reddit, where I found this. Karen decided she was going to go down to the city council meeting in Simi Valley, California, and she's protesting the mandated use of masks, and she does it in a very creative way. Take a look.
I protest face coverings. I am a healthy American. I used to be free. I am not a terrorist. I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that wears masks. I am not into sadomasochism and bondage.
Oh, so good. So good. Just distilled perfection of like everything that is rotten in our society. Just this idea that we're all kind of cosplaying as Revolutionary War heroes, like standing up to oppression. You are literally the safest person in the history of mankind. Like no person, like an American suburban white person, that's in 2020 is the safest human being in the history of mankind.
So I did some reverse search because at the end we'll get to it. She like says her name over and over again and is mad people can't pronounce it. But I reverse search her. It's Simi. It's where I'm from and all those places, all the site of all those things that happened in the past. But it's also Trade's place was with Thousand Oaks, which is just over the hill.
Yeah.
As the safest city of 100,000 people in America for decades. Back and forth between those two. You're fine, Karen. Yeah. And everything's going well for you. And just the amount of time you have to spend at Kinko's or like FedEx office to make that sign, which she points at. And you know what? I'm not convinced she's not into sadomasochism.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really is like one of those like science projects. Like I remember when I was a kid doing, going to get the little, the outside border and then the inside border for the text because that's how it looks better and it's stuff. Oh, it's great. She, I don't know. People are bored and they need to create, they need to sell themselves as the heroes of their own story. This is just a particularly good example. Does this reflect where you grew up? Like, did you know people like this growing up?
We had a woman, bless her heart, on our cul-de-sac. Like, I'm sheltered as all hell. We had a woman.
I'm imagining like the ET neighborhood,
Kind of. There were places like the names of the streets were like Circle Knoll Drive, Bridle Pathway, like that kind of stuff. And there was a woman who you would like look up as you were playing, and you could see that she was just like looking out of her window to like watch the neighborhood. But and also I drove into the valley, so from Simi it's next to the San Fernando Valley, and driving into that, you would drive into the Los Angeles County alongside cops from like Beverly Hills cop car, LAPD cop car. So there's that. She goes on and she really continues her argument, and let's take a look.
I am not a burglar. I am not a pandering politician like we see here and here and here and here.
I love her very much.
I gotta say, I hate to agree with her, but the Nancy Pelosi wearing the kente cloth kneeling in Congress is like one of the most embarrassing things I've ever watched. It made me uncomfortable. I couldn't get through it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like the most. I'm convinced it was a CIA. It was a CIA psyop to get people to turn against the protests. It's like, oh, this is too embarrassing. I don't want to be aligned with this.
But like, there's good quotes that people said while wearing the kente cloth. I just can't, and I don't even know if that's what it is. But like wearing the patterned cloth, I just can't pay attention to it because it's so cringe. Like I'm like, just play the audio. Put like a graphic up.
Listen to the podcast version.
And I do want to point out that like she's wearing a Trump shirt. Here are some photos of the Vice President Mike Pence wearing a mask. Is he pandering? I hate feeling weird pointing this out, but Donald Trump doesn't look any more stupid than he did without the mask. Is like.
Donald Trump just continues to innovate in his standing positions. Just continues to create new standing positions that we've never seen before.
So weird. There's more from Karen, and you thought it couldn't get more ridiculous than the triptych that she's made, but it does.
I am a proud Trump Republican, yearning to be free again. Who are you, victim or victor? Shame on all of you. Let liberty ring. God bless America, land that I love.
She's got a decent singing voice. I mean, the bell. The bell, let liberty ring. Ding, ding, ding. It's like a Dr. Amp in the new Twin Peaks. Like that's something that he would do. I don't know if you watched that, but
I haven't seen the new Twin Peaks. I haven't seen the old Twin Peaks. I was too scared. I've seen Mulholland Drive, and you have to. They're not in chapters, so you have to fast forward to the scene.
Right.
That's embarrassing. But yeah, so
what was the name of that guy that used to like tell you the exact minute and
Mr.
second?
Skin.
Yeah, that was you.
I'm not a good person. Anyways, but like my favorite part about this is like I wonder if on her paper that she's going and reading from, does it say "pick up bell"? Ring
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, that's a good producer would do that. Would insert that little stage direction.
Also, like she reaches down to pick up a sign saying "I'm a Trump Republican," but you're wearing a shirt that already indicates you're a Trump Republican.
I didn't know. I didn't know until she had the sign.
Thanks for getting there. So she picks up Trump, and then she repeats a Trump Republican, and then she starts singing. And when you point out that she has a good singing voice, she knows, and she wants to point it out.
Oh, I know.
And she sings the
church.
She sings the whole song. So here's the rest of the song.
I can't get through this. Come on, you're gonna do this to me?
Yeah.
From the oceans to the prairies to the mountains, white with foam.
I would like to point out that she got the words wrong. According to this Karen, the mountains are white with foam.
The mountains are white with foam. Yeah, too much foam in the keg sometimes. You gotta pump it.
It makes me so happy. And then just one last little bit about this. Please just play this last little bit as it ends.
God bless America, my home, sweet home. Let liberty ring!
Thank you for your comments.
And it's Baber. Deborah Baber.
Thank you very much.
You should know better.
The next item is a Zoom.
There is no funnier thing that they could have said. Like there is the timing, the comedic timing, the delivery, the content of the line. It is the most perfect thing to follow that whole thing. And the next item on the agenda is a Zoom.
Zoom of a coordinated dance from a horrible person.
Good. I was waiting for her to just scream out like I drive a Dodge Stratus.
I drive a Dodge Stratus. Karen,
man.
love you.
Love you. I hope you should have her on the show. You should find her. You should have her on the show on the Happy Half Hour. I think she'd be a good guest.
My other neighbor, bless his heart, was like on the city council of Simi Valley, and that has to be the single most thankless job in the world, because it's a lot of fights. It's so bad. Anyways,
it's like, are they gonna allow dogs in the city park? And maybe it's like a dog of a certain size that they allow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's so nuts. We got to take a break. When we come back, we got a lot more for you. Don't go away. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. God, that was a fun last segment.
I like that one.
Let's have a little more fun at the expense of others.
Please.
Who are just earnestly communicating how they feel about things from a philosophical perspective. I've had a lot of fun. Dave Rubin tweeted.
Oh my goodness.
Good morning to everyone except Sesame Street and CNN. First of all, if you find yourself tweeting that, stop saying except Sesame Street. No kid at the age they're into Elmo needs to be talking about racism, especially via cable news. This is brainwashing and child abuse. This, of course, is in reference to the CNN Sesame Street collaborative special that aired 2 weeks before he tweeted this.
Yeah, really got his finger on the pulse.
Just telling kids not like what the Black Lives Matter protests are about. and how to talk about race. But he said, "Good morning to everyone except Sesame Street and CNN. No kid at the age they're into Elmo needs to be talking about racism, especially via cable news. This is brainwashing and child abuse." What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I've always suspected that Elmo was a member of the Black Panther Party and was actually advocating for the revolutionary overthrow of the American state, white patriarchal American state, white genocide, the murder of every single white person in America. It was just, it's finally out, and I'm glad Dave Rubin is on top of it. I love the idea, like that Dave Rubin thinks that like any kid watches CNN ever. I mean, maybe I do agree with Dave Rubin that kids should not be watching CNN at all.
Right.
But
it is. There's obviously some like weird corporate, like, guys, let's get around a table and like look. And I hate. It's so cringy, the meetings that led to it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were cringy moments, but like,
no,
there's a
great.
ceiling to the cringiness because we're having a conversation about race in America.
Well,
so like that is healthy.
Yes, and
who cares if there's cheese on the broccoli? You know what I mean?
At this point, it's old hat, but the most triggered, the most people who need the safe space, the most people who need, the thing, and like the sensitivity training seminars are conservatives at this point because, like, Elmo saying that we should love all people, regardless of their skin color, is literally violence towards me. It's like I need to do bodies and spaces. Elmo talking about this kind of stuff is triggering to me. We need to shut it down. It's great.
That's what I think is.
It's old hat, but yeah,
it's so stupid, and it's just it's Dave Rubin, whom I know a little, who I talked to when he was here, and I was like, all right, cool. You seem nice. You seem like a friendly guy, and you have a voice I like listening to. It's a nice Alan Alda derivative, and I like Alan Alda's voice, but.
Elmo talking about race, it's really triggering to me.
We think we should go get killing people.
Alan Alda and Elmo should do a special about race. CNN will buy it.
But like CNN, but like Sesame Street's original, the reason for Sesame Street was so that kids could have a place where they could see things talked about and just learn stuff. And it was originally intended for kids who are like in disenfranchised and underserved portions of America to have a place to like just learn stuff, and B, like see folks who were like them. And that was it. Yeah. And that's what it was for from the get-go. It's not brainwashing. What Dave Rubin tries to do is brainwashing, as he's simultaneously doing an impression of what he thinks smart people in his group he's trying to appeal to would say.
No, like you said, Sesame Street is legitimately a triumph of American politics. Like that, the fact that the public broadcasting service, which was a big political issue in the 1960s and 70s, and I think should become a political issue again for the left. Anyone on the left, like thinking about public media, is something that we should get. No one talks about it, and something we should talk about. But that was like a legitimate triumph. It's legitimately a great program. And, I love that Dave Rubin is having an absolute meltdown over it.
It's so good. He wants so desperately to kill like public television.
No,
while
they all do.
Advocating so overtly to be on state media, which is Fox News, as much as he possibly can. It's so ridiculous.
You love to see it.
I do. One last thing that we don't have a lot of time, but one last thing that I really love to see is it's an amazing moment because it gets. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Quaker, who is a company that makes oats but also owns Aunt Jemima, apparently, which is itself like a crazy issue. Quaker has announced that they are discontinuing the Aunt Jemima. The Aunt Jemima syrup.
Yeah.
They say Aunt Jemima, the syrup and pancake mix brand, will receive a new name and image. Parent company Quaker Oats acknowledged Wednesday that the brand's, quote, origins are based on a racial stereotype, according to NBC News. And so that's one thing.
Well, I think we should celebrate. Crack open a new bottle. Racism is over. We defeated it.
I know.
It's gone. No longer will we be eating the racist pancakes. And I think it's something to celebrate,
I love
that you left us for the last segment of the day, so I'm already drunk. And yeah.
But what I like about this story is because I'm just like the most generic of whites, and I'm like, I guess.
No, you're a J though.
I'm a J. I'm a white. I'm an Ashkenaz.
Yeah, so you're not that generic.
I'm 50% Ashkenaz. The other 50 is waspy wasps.
Okay.
So I'm right there. I'm like, but it's also SoCal Jews. So I'm not like the people who were like, I lived in Oklahoma and we were the only half Jews for miles. It was like, no. There's
your people control the media and the banking system.
And also Soros is taking care of stuff for us. Checks in the mail there. Mail there, Nando. Anyways, but so that's one thing. And I'm like, I don't know. But I saw a lot of tweets that were like, okay, that's not it. From people within the movement of Black Lives Matter saying, okay, that's weird. Okay, thanks. But can we please focus on like actual people being killed besides Aunt Jemima? But thank you. This is more of a symptom of like, or more of an indicator that
it's more of a relic
has made that much of an impact that like the people at Quaker Oats are like, what can we do? What can we do? If we're not doing something, we're having a problem.
Did you see the Gushers? That Gushers is working very closely with Fruit by the Foot to end systemic racism.
No.
Oh, this has to be a happy half-hour segment next time. Gushers tweeted out. The official Gushers account was like, we at Gushers take the systemic racism very seriously, and we're actually working very closely with Fruit by the Foot to take steps within our organizations to end racism. And it's like, yes, the brands are going to end racism, Brett, whether you like it or not.
But sir, as the communist you are, as anyone who is skeptical of capitalism and at the very least aware of the power of capitalism within America, seeing all these companies just be like, oh God, we got to be more woke. It's at least like the thing that we have to get to. It's at least an indicator.
I'm of two minds. On the one hand, from a Gramscian communist point of view, the fact that it's this Black Lives Matter movement is so hegemonic that all the brands feel the need to take steps is probably a good thing. On the other hand, from a sort of vulgar Marxist point of view, the fact that the brands are doing all of this means that they're going to absorb all this energy, spit it back into the capitalist sort of meat grinder, and spit it back out and perpetuate the system of injustice in which we all live.
Gotcha.
Is that a happy half hour?
That's what I rely on you
the
for.
Spicy takes.
I just had the Marx Engels reader.
You get the spiciest takes after 3 Negronis on an empty stomach.
I like it. The very last thing we'll show you is this image, which will last until people perish from this earth. People said Aunt Jemima is going to end up as Karen, and this will be your label. So someone put the Karen who got mad at the guy who painted Black Lives Matter in chalk, not even painted, chalked Black Lives Matter on his own property, who was like, I'm sorry, but I would pay money to buy the Aunt Karen.
You know what's gonna happen is like some like conservatives are gonna buy the Aunt Jemima trademark and like, no, we're gonna eat those pancakes. I'm gonna eat the Aunt Jemima. This is the way we always have. This is America. Aunt Jemima syrup with the Aunt Jemima pancakes, and you're not gonna take it from me, you Stalinist leftists.
I will get diabetes despite you.
I will eat Aunt Jemima syrup. I will drink it out of the bottle every single day, like in Super Troopers, until I die, to own the libs.
We gotta get Lemmy on the show. Okay, and the last thing I will say about Aunt Karen as Aunt Jemima is, that like if Aunt Karen is the poster woman of Aunt Jemima, she is going to like give it to her kid, but also body shame her as she's eating carbs.
Oh yeah. It's just like, oh, how many ounces of syrup are you putting into those pancakes? You know how many calories there are in that?
So good. All right, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, Nando, for joining us.
You, Brett.
And we'll see you next time.
All right, brother.
Hey everybody, these are the bonus segments this is the bonus segment from Happy Half Hour, which means I'm drunk. Nando, how you feeling?
I'm feeling drunk and I'm making another one, dude.
Bless them. I'm pretty far through. I'll let you know where on the bottle it stops feeling. I drank this much wine.
This is my 4th Negroni, so yeah.
Yeah, we're about right. And Negroni is just booze. There's no.
Oh yeah.
Let's add this thing to it.
It's 3 ounces of booze. It's an ounce of gin, ounce of vermouth, ounce of Campari, all of which have that blessed drug, the best drug of all time, alcohol.
And
Very
Nando,
underrated.
last show we did together, we pretty much killed an entire bottle of whiskey. So I'm pretty proud of who we are. So here is the story that we're going to talk about that I found pretty fantastic because it happened very close to my home. It's a South Bay story. So we're in a time of coronavirus. There's a lot of danger for people trying to get back into the swing of a healthy lifestyle. So a lot of gyms, which might technically be open, have people who are members of those gyms that are scared to come in. But one gym in the South Bay of Los Angeles, in the beach cities, has a solution. The owners of the aptly named Inspire South Bay Fitness have constructed 9, quote, workout pods out of plastic pipes and shower curtains to give, and here's what they look like, to give their members an opportunity to work out. Pete Sampson is the owner of the gym, and he's in that photo, and here's what he's told CNN. Initially, Sampson told CNN the gym considered mandating masks for returning clients. And he said, we tested it out on Zoom, though, and could tell that people couldn't breathe. We felt really bad for them. Our clients are like our family. We were thinking, how do we want our family to feel?
I'm glad Pete Sampras is thinking about how he could feel. You know, when I'm doing my bench press with the mask, I just can't get the proper oxygen to my pecs. Pete Sampras with the overhead slam on that take.
I love the idea, though. Like, I don't know. Like, if we could show the photo again, the second graphic, it's just like at a certain point, I think the science is against you here still.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, like, either you're in a giant enclosed area that is safe from coronavirus, or you're in an covered on 3 sides section that is not safe from coronavirus.
Like, what do they do? It's like that overlooked Jake Gyllenhaal movie Bubble Boy. What do they do? Do they bring the gym equipment to you? Like, the whole thing about the gym is like, oh, there's the lat pull down machine. Oh, there's a treadmill. There's a thing. Like, if you're in a little box, what are you gonna bring the bench? How? I don't understand. Like, how you're gonna work out in that little box?
In my neighborhood, there's a garage that these dudes open, and obviously with the closed gyms, these guys have just invited every person they know from the gym to their house. So every morning as I like go out front, I don't get the paper or anything, but I like go and like stretch.
Like Tony Soprano in that kimono robe.
In this kimono robe, I walk out and I'm like, oh God, you guys are working out at 9 a.m. At 6:30 in the morning, you have strangers in your garage. Are you like, are you working
Brett,
out?
Have you ever heard of hashtag no days off?
No days off, bro. Every day's leg day.
No days off, bro. You gotta get every day's leg day. You gotta get the swole on. Coronavirus is not gonna keep me from getting swole.
One thing I do not miss from being a member of a gym, which hasn't happened in like 2 years, is a guy working out who's going,
Wait, Brett, you're not working out these days? What's going on?
I used to walk every day.
What the
4
walk?
miles.
What are you, like 95?
So I produce this show in the morning. I walk and I take my phone out and I have our Google Doc and I'm like, copy paste, blah, blah, blah. But my wife just came in to check on me. I was
Is she okay?
doing an impression of someone
Bring
working.
her on the show. Tell her I want to say hi to her.
She can come out. I don't know if she's camera ready. She is. She's
Tell her
beautiful.
she's always beautiful in my eyes. This is a digital segment. Who cares?
She could come out. She runs the Twitch. Anyways, but like I don't miss any of that. I walk because I want to be active, and I had a Apple Watch that told me like how well I was doing. But man, it is. I don't miss a gym. I don't miss any of that. But I know that John and JR miss it because without the gym, JR loses weight and John gains it, and it's become quite an issue.
Yeah. You know, yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to say anything about John, but I was like, John, you know.
We can feel it.
Yeah.
He's disgusting. He's disgusting to look at.
Brett, what guitar do you got in the back? What's going on there?
Oh, that's my dad's guitar. It's a Yamaha.
dad's?
It was like, well, I just mean that it was from, he didn't play guitar at all, but like it is an old guitar that I have that on my friend's 30th birthday in Santa Barbara while running, I dropped. I used to have a Charvel TX custom that got stolen. That was my electric.
Got stolen?
Yeah.
Who stole it?
Someone when I was in college stole my guitar.
From your dorm?
From my dorm. I was in a band in college, and the people.
What did you guys play? Reunion tour.
Bro.
You don't think TYT members would fucking pay to see Brett Ehrlich's college band?
Google Chris. So the people in my band were Adrian Perry, whose dad is Joe Perry from Aerosmith.
Hey, whoa.
Gabe Turow, whose dad wrote Presumed Innocent, Scott Turow. So these are and Adrian was amazing. Gabe was amazing. Gabe stopped out. Gabe now recently developed musical heart treatment for newborns by playing drums to them. Insane. And then Michael Jackson was the name of our singer. He works for Steve Wesley.
His name was Michael.
His name is Michael. And his mom was worked for test prep and was like, he was just a kid who was in a band. When we named him, then Chris Cox, who just rejoined Facebook as the head of product for Facebook.
Oh, this is your millionaire friend.
This is one of my multiple millionaire friends that are not me. But we were in a great band, and Morton Robert Bierman, who's like a big executive for Uber. But all awesome, all good people. So I'm the one who defends, like, I don't think the people who work at Facebook are evil. They just don't understand the world.
No, I mean, it's not, well, okay, I'm not going to get into that. The point is, what kind of music did you guys play?
We just played like covers of like
Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Beatles and
Led Zeppelin.
Zeppelin, yeah. How about you? What do you play?
I was in a band called the Masterpiece Mullets.
The last song?
The Masterpiece Mullets. That was my band in high school.
So good. And what your guitars are gorgeous, and I'm wildly jealous of the Gretsch specifically.
We got the Gretsch. My mom got me that one for my college graduation. The Strat I got in high school. I bought it with my own money. I saved up for like a year.
Yeah, that's how you buy Strats.
Yeah, that's how you buy Strat. And then I got that. That's a 1989 Japanese thin line Telecaster that I'm very proud of. And it's my favorite guitar to play these days.
God, good for you. Teles are solid. You're my favorite person to have on the show this week. I don't want to make other people mad, but I really enjoyed myself. Everyone listen to Nando's podcast. Let's
watch it.
Watch it. Even
watch it.
That's literally impossible. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Happy App Hour.